Chapter 2689. Young Master Foam. Yin Tong bit her lips tightly. At this moment, she looked at him with tears in her eyes and said, I really just don't want you to listen to that kind of useless person. If she's really like what you said, why did you fail the first time? Lu Juefeng curled his lips coldly, and his eyes were cold. Now, it seemed that if someone said bad things about her, his heart would be inexplicably unhappy. I know what kind of person she is. Lu Juefeng narrowed his eyes and looked at her coldly. I don't need your evaluation. She is not what you see on the surface. Yin Tong couldn't control herself and shouted. She is pretending to be innocent. I know. In fact, she is not so weak at all. I know. She may be deliberately approaching you and has another purpose. In the next second, Lu Juefeng's cold eyes seemed to flash with a touch of tenderness. He seemed to be talking to himself. That is really what I want. Young Master Foam, what did you say? Yin Tong naturally didn't expect Lu Juefeng to say such a thing, and her whole person fell to the ground in shock. I don't like to repeat myself. Lu Juefeng raised his eyes and said, This matter will have a result after all. Since I protect her, I won't let anyone hurt her. From today onwards, you don't need to follow me. Lu Juefeng's every word was cold to the bone. Yin Tong only felt that her head was buzzing, and her whole world was dark. Why was it like this? Lu Juefeng didn't let her follow him. Did he not want her anymore? Young Master Foam. She suddenly got up with a hoarse voice and found that Lu Juefeng had already walked to the door. Yin Tong, if you're doing anything to get married, don't blame me for not remembering that we have known each other for so many years. As soon as his voice fell, the door was closed with a bang, and only Yin Tong was left in the room. Although the light was on, it was her heart that was dim. She clenched her fist and knocked on the table hard, murmuring, So many people have pretended to be Mr. L's granddaughter over the years, but in the end, they were all fake. I don't believe that you're real. She would never admit it. She would never admit that Lu Juefeng was trying his best to protect Luo Qingshun because she was Mr. L's granddaughter. Then, let her take off the ugly mask with her own hands. Those who pretended to be white lotuses, those who thought they were rich young ladies, those who pretended to be innocent. How disgusting. At the same time, after taking a shower, Luo Qingshun lay in bed for a long time without falling asleep. There were a lot of things that she hadn't finished when she came here this time, but now there were even more things in her heart. It was something that couldn't be explained clearly, but also something that couldn't be explained. In a daze, he only fell asleep around 3 or 4 in the morning, so when he woke up the next morning, his head was in a daze. She opened the door and wanted to ask Wanwan to help her pick up the school uniform she had left downstairs yesterday. Unexpectedly, there was a familiar figure standing at the door. He stood with his hands behind his back and leaned against the wall. His gaze seemed to be very heavy, making it hard for people to see through him. You're awake? When Lu Juefeng looked sideways at him, there was a faint glimmer in his eyes. You? Luo Qingshun looked over and blinked. Is your injury better? Chapter 2690. Yes. Lu Juefeng nodded. It's about time. Let's change our clothes and go to school. School? Luo Qingshun was stunned for a moment. Then, she seemed to recall something and said, Oh, right. Today, Mubei Third High School and Aristocratic High School merged. Yes, he said calmly. I'll wait for you downstairs. Oh, Luo Qingshun pursed her lips. Looking at Lu Juefeng's back, she snorted proudly. Sure enough, with 30% favorability, I don't get any love at all. At the corner of the stairs, Lu Juefeng stopped. His wound was still hurting, but there was a faint smile on his face. He could only feel at ease after seeing it. After breakfast, Mo Ling drove the car, while the other 3 young masters escorted her to school. Luo Qingshun felt that this lineup was a bit exaggerated. She felt that she had to be famous after this merger. In fact, before she even arrived at the school, the rumors had already spread like wildfire in the school. After all, the merger of an aristocratic high school and an ordinary high school was big news in the education world. I heard that Miss Luo is very beautiful and is proficient in music, chess, calligraphy, and painting. Is that true? But I heard that she is the granddaughter of that Mr. L who just found her. She seemed to be like us in the past. Yes, yes, yes. It is said that she used to be from Mubei. Be reasonable. Has there ever been such a person in Mubei? Don't talk about Mubei. We are all aristocratic high schools now. Speaking of which, the teachers are really good. They have everything from air conditioners to vending machines. The onlookers expressed the rumors they heard and their thoughts about coming to the aristocratic high school. Only Fang Xinxin sat alone in the corner and did not say a word. She was still trembling with fear after what happened yesterday. Chun Mimi's family went bankrupt, her father ran away, her sister was critically ill, and she dropped out of school. Luo Qingchen was like a devil who came back from hell. Her whole body was emitting a cold aura. Now that Chun Mimi had disappeared without a trace, would she be the next one? Luo Qingchen, who had been a slave in her family for more than 10 years, was really the granddaughter of the richest man in the country? What kind of joke was this? How is that possible? How could something as lowly as a vermin have such an identity? No, it's impossible. Suddenly, Fang Xinxin's terrified scream came from the classroom, which had been gossiping. Everyone's gaze landed on Fang Xinxin. Fang Xinxin sat down, panting. She tried her best to control her emotions and calm herself down. Why was she panicking? Why was she worried? When Luo Qingchen was in their house, although she hated her in her heart, she rarely showed it on the surface. Luo Qingchen was indebted to them for raising her. She had been eating and wearing their clothes for so many years. Now that she had money, shouldn't she repay them with a few million yuan? Fang Xinxin continued to brainwash herself and made herself stand on the moral high ground. In this way, she would have the capital to negotiate with Luo Qingchen. When he saw her yesterday, she didn't say much. Another handsome guy had been protecting her by her side. This was enough to prove that she was still Luo Qingchen, the weak and incompetent Luo Qingchen. As long as she stood on the moral high ground, not only could she make Luo Qingchen give them money, but she could also make the people around her work for her. Thinking of this, she recovered a lot. Chapter 2691. After the two schools merged, the students from Mubei Third Middle School all went to Aristocratic High School. Aristocratic High School had extra teaching buildings, so it was more than enough to accommodate 2 more students from Mubei Third Middle School. However, the difference between aristocrats and commoners was especially obvious at this moment. A road was directly separated, and there was an exquisite signboard on the side of the road that said, "Commoners are not allowed." When Luo Qingchen arrived at the school, she had already become the focus of everyone's attention. What did this so-called rich granddaughter look like? What kind of extravagance did she have? The one in front stopped these people from crowding around the school gate. Tan Xiao picked up the walkie-talkie and said, "Do you know the consequences of blocking our young Mrs. Path?" "Yes, young Master Tan." In the next second, the school's broadcast rang out. The content was short and clear and was very direct. Announcement. If there are any other schools that are watching the commotion at the school gate, no matter which school it is, they will all be expelled. In just an instant, the sea of people at the entrance of the school disappeared as if it had been flashed. "You guys are really ruthless." Luo Qingchen shrugged her shoulders and said with a light smile, "You really opened my eyes. Young Miss is so noble. Naturally, you can't be compared to others." Mo Ling directly drove the car into the school and said, "I'll go park the car. You guys go up with young Miss." After this scenery, in the morning, Luo Qingchen was very clear that coming to school alone was very different from coming to school with the 4 young masters. Her class was aristocratic class 1, and the entire class was filled with the young masters and daughters of influential figures in the business circle. Of course, they were still very cautious when talking to her. Some of the more eager ones would say a few polite words to her, but after being swept by Lu Juefeng's cold gaze, they couldn't say anything. As for the more timid ones, they didn't even dare to walk past her. The higher the status of a person, the more they knew who they couldn't offend. Luo Qingchen was that person they couldn't offend. However, this kind of atmosphere gave her a very uncomfortable feeling. After 2 periods of classes, She looked at Lu Juefeng with a bitter smile and said, "I'll go downstairs to get some fresh air." In. He was about to get up when Luo Qingquan hurriedly said, "No, no, no, I'll go by myself. You're like a 30 degrees Celsius ice cube by my side. It's easy for ordinary people to freeze." Lu Juefeng thought that there shouldn't be any danger in school, so he nodded and said, "In, call me if anything. Don't worry." Luo Qingquan wanted to walk around downstairs and take a few breaths of fresh air. Unexpectedly, they bumped into the two elders of the Fong family who were delivering snacks to Fong Xinxin. They used to be like this. They would always bring delicious food to Fong Xinxin between classes. At that time, the original owner and Fong Xinxin were still in the same class. Every time Fong Xinxin's her, Fong, and Fong, but every time, the original owner would be warned not to eat the desserts they prepared for their baby daughter. But Fong Xinxin hadn't even finished her breakfast. And Fong Xinxin had never eaten breakfast. TSK. Luo Qingquan's cold eyes narrowed. She clapped her hands lightly and walked in the direction of Fong's parents. The moment Fong Xinxin's parents saw Luo Qingquan, their faces darkened, and their eyes were filled with anger. Chapter 2692. Fong Xinxin's expression changed slightly. She knew about Luo Qingquan's current identity, but her parents didn't. Right now, although she could stand on the moral high ground and get what she wanted, it would be difficult for her to get what she wanted if she offended Luo Qingquan. "Oh, Dad, Mom, Sister's been with us for so many years. It's a good thing that she can come back to study." Fong Xinxin had completely changed her attitude and was completely different from yesterday. "But," Mother Fong muttered softly, "where will she get the money to study?" "Mom, actually, Fong Xinxin, your actions are really disgusting." Luo Qingquan crossed her arms, and her lips curled into a cold smile as she looked at her. "How much worse do you think your next round will be than Chun Mei Mei's?" The next second, before Fong Xinxin could come back to her senses, Mr. Fong was displeased. He suddenly raised his right hand and said angrily, "How dare you talk to Xinxin like this? Are you looking for a beating?" As he spoke, he quickly walked toward Luo Qingquan and was about to slap Luo Qingquan's face. She looked up coldly. There was a hint of murderous intent in her clear eyes. This gaze made Father Fong's heart tremble. His raised right hand paused for a moment and was caught firmly. Fair hands, slender fingertips, white school uniform, familiar aura. It wasn't her who was familiar, but the original owner was familiar. "You're not from our school." Yi Lu's gaze darkened as she looked at Father Fong. "You're hitting someone at school. I'm going to call the police." "Classmate Yi Lu, don't call the police." Fong Xinxin hurriedly stopped her. "This is our family matter." "You family matter?" Luo Qingquan shrugged and looked at Fong Xinxin with disdain and mockery. "Ridiculous? How dare you talk to me about the word family?" In Luo Qingquan's opinion, Fong Xinxin could be described in one sentence at this moment. A shameless person is invincible. "You?" Fong Xinxin tried her best to suppress her anger and calmly began to speak on the moral high ground. She cleared her throat and said, "Yes, you're different now. But when my parents brought you back from the orphanage, they really treated you like their own daughter. But now that you found your parents, you're so ungrateful. It's really disappointing." Clap, clap, clap. Hearing Fong Xinxin's words, Luo Qingquan couldn't help but applaud her. It had to be said that this move of retreating in order to advance was really well used. It was a pity that Luo Qingquan didn't fall for this. "Oh, it seems that I've disappointed you." Luo Qingquan chuckled coldly. "Then how about I make you feel even more disappointed?" What do you want to do?" Fong Xinxin didn't expect Luo Qingquan to respond to her in this way. She originally thought that she would be able to make Yi Lu compromise since she was speaking from a moral standpoint in front of her. But she didn't expect that not only did Yi Lu not compromise, but I've said what I want to do a long time ago. Luo Qingquan casually put her hands into the pockets of her school uniform and looked at Fong Xinxin. "I can guarantee that you and your parents will end up in a worse state than Chenmimi." With that, she turned around and didn't want to look at this family anymore. "Luo Qingquan," Fong Xinxin roared angrily and gritted her teeth. You can't be so heartless. God is watching what we do. Chapter 2693. At this moment, Fang Xinxin's parents still hadn't recovered from their shock. They were still looking at her fiercely. It was as if they were still the two elders in the Fang family who could abuse the girl they brought back from the orphanage as they wished. It was a pity that this girl was no longer the original girl. Even if there weren't thousands of people who died in her hands, there were at least hundreds. Other than that person, she was indifferent to any other world. She wasn't as pure or kind as the original owner. But at least in most situations, no one could bully her. Those who could bully her were all dead. Those who could protect her were also dead. Xinxin, you don't have to be so polite with her. I don't understand what she's saying. But don't worry, I have acquaintances in this school. Fang Xinxin's father looked at her fiercely. You're still threatening us? I'll bet that you won't be able to stay in this school for even a day. Fang Xinxin's father looked like he was about to explode, but her heart didn't waver at all. At the same time, at a certain place in the school building, Lu Juefeng and Tan Xiao watched everything that was happening. Tan Xiao put down his phone and said, "Done." Lu Juefeng frowned and replied, "I've sent people to visit her neighbors. This family definitely won't let them have an easy time." Although he was so proud when he met her, he felt an inexplicable pain in his heart when he thought about how she was bullied by others for more than 10 years. But no matter how painful it was, it couldn't compare to the pain he felt when he saw another boy standing beside her. "Don't worry, anyone who bullies Miss will end up." Tan Xiao paused and said, "Worse than death." Lu Juefeng didn't reply. Tan Xiao looked at his tightly knitted brows and glanced at Yi Lu, who was standing beside Luo Qingqian. Then he asked, "Young Master Feng, are you bothered?" "No." Lu Juefeng looked indifferent, but he was trying his best to suppress his emotions. He shook his head and said, "What's there to be bothered about an ordinary classmate? TSK, TSK, TSK. Tan Xiao raised his right hand and waved it. This Yi Lu isn't an ordinary student. At least he knows Mississippi knows him. Lu Juefeng raised his brows unconsciously. He felt even more upset. He felt as if a huge stone was pressing down on his heart, causing him to stop breathing. He's the school hunk of Mu Bay No. 3 High School. I heard that Fang Xinxin liked him a lot, but he what? Tan Xiao couldn't help but find it funny when he saw Lu Juefeng's nervous expression and how he was desperately suppressing it. He cleared his throat and replied, "On the contrary, he is closer to Mississippi. As for the specifics, I'm not too sure." Yi Lu. Lu Juefeng looked at the young man, who was full of vitality under the sun, and his eyes turned cold. At the same time, Yi Lu, who was standing beside Luo Qingqian, said, "The school has its own rules. Class is about to start. Unrelated people should leave quickly. It's none of your business whether I leave or not. Let me tell you." In the next second, before Father Fang could finish speaking, more than 10 burly men stood behind the two elders of the Fang family. This display of power scared Father Fang so much that his tongue instantly started to rob. The arrogance from a second ago completely disappeared, leaving only his tongue to rob. You. Chapter 2694. No, you must have misunderstood. Fang Xinxin immediately rushed forward and shook her head with all her might. You can't hide the truth from the masses. Chun Mimi's miserable state yesterday was still in front of her eyes. She was already trying her best to stop it. She definitely couldn't let such a thing happen again. You're finally telling the truth. Luo Qingqian gave a shrug and said with a cold smile, "I can cover the sky with one hand." Yi Lu frowned and looked at her with a puzzled expression. But to her, she didn't care at all. She simply glanced at Fang Xinxin one last time. That was a gesture of victory. She was also very clear that after this glance, she would never be able to see Fang Xinxin again. Perhaps she would disappear from her world like Chun Mimi. It seemed that she didn't have to work hard or use any methods. She simply used her status to easily avenge the original owner. More than 10 burly men directly took the two elders of the Fang family away. At the same time, Fang Xinxin was also taken away. Among them, there were 1 or 2 people who passed by, but they were tactful enough to leave quickly. After all, there were some things to watch. If they watch some things for too long, it might bring disaster to themselves. The students of Mu Bay Third High School might not be very clear about Luo Qingqian's status, but the students of aristocratic high schools were very clear. They wouldn't cause trouble for themselves, nor would they cause trouble for their families. The higher the status, the more they knew who they couldn't offend, the smarter they were. She ignored Fang Xinxin's crazy shouts and didn't even care about Yi Lu's gaze. From the moment he frowned just now, she knew that this young man didn't understand the original owner. Then, it was even more impossible for him to understand her. Classmate Qingqian. Just as she walked a dozen steps, Yi Lu caught up with her. "What's the matter?" Luo Qingqian stopped and turned to look at him. Yi Lu was slightly taken aback. In the next second, he scratched his head and chuckled. "It's great that you can come back to class. But the way you looked at me just now should be full of doubt." She didn't like to hide things. Since they were talking face to face, it was better to be honest. Yi Lu didn't expect Luo Qingqian to be so straightforward. She was startled and said, "I only heard about your identity from them. This is good too. I finally don't have to live under someone else's roof." In the past, he knew that Luo Qingqian didn't have a good life in the Fang family, but he couldn't help her. He could only comfort her and talk to her occasionally. Now, she had found her family, and they were people of such high status. He should be happy for her, but why did he feel a little uncomfortable? She seemed to be even more difficult to approach. "Yes." Luo Qingqian gently nodded and said, "It's all in the past. Actually, she should have a good relationship with Yi Lu." After all, the host's wish hadn't been fulfilled. But for some reason, she was very resistant in her heart. She didn't want to get close to him, and she didn't want to have any interactions with him in the future. Firstly, they weren't from the same world. Secondly, she didn't want a certain someone to misunderstand. But if she didn't complete the mission and it affected the special plane, it would be a pain that she couldn't bear. This time, she had to think carefully before she acted. Chapter 2695. Your birthday? Luo Qingqian's brows twitched, and an idea popped up in her mind. Yi Lu nodded and said, "My brother opened a small bar and invited some of his close friends. I don't have any female friends either. If you don't mind, you can come and eat a cake." If it was in the past, Yi Lu would feel proud when he said this. Although he wasn't a rich person, he didn't have to worry about money. The Luo Qingqian of the past couldn't be compared to him. He, who could look down on her, now had to look up to her. "I don't mind." Luo Qingqian smiled faintly. "Around what time?" 7. He was overwhelmed by Luo Qingqian's straightforward answer and hastily continued, "I'll pick you up after school." Luo Qingqian's brows twitched, and there was a touch of gentleness in her eyes. Someone's figure seemed to have flashed past her eyes. It was faint but inexplicably warm. "Okay." Luo Qingqian pursed her lips. "Let's go together after school." Since she had to do this, she would do it earlier. Right now, she only had 30% favorability towards him. Even if Lu Juefeng found out, he probably wouldn't mind. She had to be decisive when doing things. Being hesitant would only make her fall deeper. In the evening, Luo Qingqian tidied up her things and glanced outside the window. The dark clouds were low, and it seemed like it was going to rain heavily. She felt uneasy but couldn't put her finger on it. "Miss, let's go back." Tan Xiao reached out to take her bag. Luo Qingqian froze and said, "I have a date tonight. You guys go back first. I'll go back by myself later." "Where are you going?" A voice as cold as water sounded, causing her heart to suddenly tremble. She seemed to be able to feel the coldness emitting from Lu Juefeng's body and an indescribable anger. "A friend's birthday." Luo Qingqian turned around and smiled. "You guys go back first. I'll protect myself." In the next second, he suddenly raised his head, and their eyes met. That pair of deep, ink-like eyes were filled with indescribable emotions, a little bit of sadness, a little bit of loneliness. The surroundings were completely silent. Yanzhe had left the school early due to some matters, while Tan Xiao and Mo Ling stood by the side, not saying a word. Some people didn't want to admit their feelings, and some people didn't want to face their feelings directly. Until Qingqian, Yi Lu stood at the door and called her name. Everyone's gaze landed on Yi Lu. Only Lu Juefeng's gaze was still on her. Faint as ink, night as stars. Be careful. His eyebrows moved slightly as he said indifferently, come back soon. There was an inexplicable feeling in his heart. He clenched his right hand into a fist, and his slender fingers were faintly white. No matter how difficult it was, he suppressed his emotions at this moment. Yes. She took a deep breath and nodded. Don't worry. As soon as she finished speaking, she did not look at his face again, but quickly turned around. She felt a little sour in her nose, and she felt very upset. She felt as if she had hurt someone, and that person was the person she was most unwilling to hurt in her life. Chapter 2696. When her back view gradually disappeared from their sight, Tan Xiaofeng slowly said, What do you say? Are you going to follow? Of course I'll follow. Lu Juefeng clenched his teeth as he said each word. He seemed to be unable to control his emotions. No matter how hard he tried, it was as if that kind of care was like an unstoppable torrential river, hitting his heart layer by layer. It seemed like he couldn't take it anymore. She sat in Yilu's car. It was an ordinary SUV. It wasn't too expensive, but it wasn't cheap either. If Yilu was considered a normal person, he would be considered very outstanding. He was still a high school student, but he already had his own car. The familiar song, So You're Here Too, played in the car. The atmosphere was good, but she didn't feel relaxed. She leaned her right hand against the window and watched the rain fall. She felt a bit depressed. Yilu's birthday party was held in an elegant bar. Half of the bar wasn't open to the public today, as it was dedicated to his birthday. The other half was booked an hour ago, but no one seemed to be here yet. Other than a few of his good friends, the rest were his classmates. Come in. It's okay to be casual. Yilu was afraid that Luo Qingshun wouldn't be used to it, so he didn't forget to say something to make her feel more relaxed. Actually, her thoughts weren't here at all. Isn't this the Luo family's daughter? One of the high school students walked up with a smile. I didn't have time to greet Ms. Luo today. Do you know Yilu? Luo Qingshun nodded. You guys chat first. I'm going to the washroom. Okay. That person clearly felt Luo Qingshun's distance and didn't dare to flatter her anymore. Standing in front of the sink, the cool water seeped through her skin and made her feel more awake than ever. But she had to pretend to be confused after coming out. She didn't look for Yilu. Instead, she sat at the bar and ordered a blue enchantress cocktail. The faint smell of the ocean with a hint of sweetness. Yilu sat beside her and ordered an orange cocktail. It was called Strolling Life here. Want a drink? He glanced sideways at Luo Qingshun and said, You haven't said happy birthday to me yet. She chuckled. Happy birthday. Where's the present? Yi Qing smiled foolishly. Can I have a present? In this kind of atmosphere, a guy asking for a gift from another girl really made people's imaginations run wild. However, the way she looked at Yilu told her that she wasn't thinking too much. After experiencing so many planes, even if he wasn't 100% accurate in judging people, he was at least 90% accurate. It could be seen from Yilu's eyes that she liked the host. However, he had never revealed the feelings in his heart. No one knew why. Was it because the original owner's status was too low? Or was it because of other reasons she didn't know, but she didn't want to know? What gift you want? She drank the wine in her hand and said, Tell me and let me think about it, you. In the next second, their eyes met. Luo Qingshun narrowed her eyes and looked at him up and down. She could see the burning expectation in his eyes. She wanted to say it. She just had to pretend to be drunk. She always spoke nonsense after drinking. Luo Qingshun asked for another glass of wine and drank it all. I quite like you. Ding affection has increased by 50. Mission completion rate is now 80%. Before the word but could leave her mouth, the terrifying notification sounded in her mind. Chapter 2697. What did you say? It was noisy, but Yilu still heard Luo Qingshun's words. His heart was filled with joy and excitement like never before. Wait. Luo Qingshun raised her hand and looked around. The lights were warm and cold, but she didn't see that familiar voice. What are you looking for? Yilu looked at her in confusion. His originally excited heart was filled with disappointment. Didn't you say you booked the entire place today? Luo Qingshun frowned. Is there anyone else? How did you know? Yilu was a bit surprised. After all, he didn't know much about the bar. His cousin told him that he still had to do business. It was rare for someone to book the entire place, and it wouldn't be so noisy if you earned more. Nothing. Her brows trembled, and she shook her head. I drank too much and mistook you for someone else. Don't take some words to heart. She could clearly feel that Yilu's gaze had dimmed. When that sunny face revealed sadness, it inevitably made one's heart ache. But she had no choice. No matter how she handled this matter, there would be flaws. But she wasn't a saint. She had her own mission and her own punishment. She could make those who bullied her suffer for the original owner. But she couldn't do it when it came to relationships. She didn't feel good about completing the mission in such a way, but it was the only way. So can I ask Ching-chun, who is the person you want to say you like? Yilu smiled helplessly and rubbed his head. I just think that person is very lucky, so I'm asking. Am I lucky? For the first time, she used her truest self to face Yilu. She smiled faintly. If we have to talk about lucky, then I'm definitely luckier than him. They looked at each other. Yilu couldn't seem to see the light in her eyes, but he knew very well that, other than being friends, there was no other relationship between them. At the same time, on Shitong Bridge, the rain poured down, and there wasn't a single person on the bridge. Lu Juefeng stood in the middle of the bridge and let the rain hit him. He closed his eyes and gently pressed his right hand against his heart. It really hurt. You don't look too good. Did your wound open again? Tan Xiao hurriedly caught up to him and held the umbrella over his head. Say something. What's going on? Earlier on, Lu Juefeng had suddenly clutched his chest and left the bar. Feeling somewhat worried, he had followed him and left Mo Ling behind to protect Luo Qingchen. It seemed like something really did happen. What's going on? You guessed most of it, didn't you? His left hand gripped the guardrail so tightly that his fingertips gradually turned white. It was really painful. It was so painful that it was suffocating. No matter how hard he tried to tell himself, I don't care, it was useless. It was like a slow-acting poison, corroding his heart bit by bit. Unknowingly, the poison had already spread throughout his body, and no medicine could cure it. Young Master Feng, looking at his pale face and sorrowful gaze, even Tan Xiao, who had always been extroverted, looked at him with a serious expression and said in a low voice, I don't even recognize you anymore. Chapter 2698. But Miss seems to have someone she likes. Tan Xiao sighed. You treated her like that before, so it's normal that she doesn't like you. But it's useless for you to torture yourself like this. He had never seen Lu Juefeng like this before. Lu Juefeng was in so much pain because of something like this. He didn't even know how to comfort him. It's good. In the rainy night, he suddenly laughed at himself and said sadly, torturing myself like this can at least let my heart tell my ignorant self what? How much I love her. Young Master Feng, let me walk around by myself. Ah, okay. Tan Xiao knew that it was useless to say anything else in this situation. It was better to let him walk alone. The drizzle fell, and the cold wind blew. Lu Juefeng walked alone on the deserted street, the cold rain washing his wounds. His wounds tore open, and blood dripped to the ground along with the rain. But he didn't seem to care at all. Perhaps it was because there was another place where the pain had already overshadowed everything else, overshadowing all his pain. So this was what it felt like to like someone. Even torturing himself was a blessing. He was lucky that he could still be by her side, protect her. He didn't know how long he walked, but his head seemed to be in a mess. Everything in front of him became blurry, and he couldn't see clearly. The next second, Lu Juefeng felt his vision go black, and he lost consciousness. When he opened his eyes again, he was surrounded by white figures, and the air was filled with the smell of alcohol and formalin. Lu Juefeng's eyebrows moved slightly. Tan Xiao and Yin Tong immediately went to the bedside to help him up, but he gently waved his hand and frowned. What time is it? It's 12 o'clock. Tan Xiao sighed deeply. If I didn't send someone to follow you, you wouldn't have fainted on the bridge in this kind of weather. The big truck wouldn't have seen you fall on the ground. Tan Xiao's tone was full of blame. But after all, they had been brothers for so many years, so he naturally didn't want to see him torture himself like this. Did she go back? Lu Juefeng didn't seem to hear anything. He only wanted to ask about Luo Qingchen. The more he understood his own heart, the more excited and uneasy he felt. The more he wanted to know everything about her, the more he wanted her care. This was the truest portrayal of his heart at this moment. Don't worry, young Master Ling sent her back. Tan Xiao pointed at his wound and said, I advise you to worry about yourself. The wound infection is very serious. If it weren't for your good foundation, you would have had an organ infection. Young Master Tan is right. Young Master, why did you hurt yourself? Yin Tong could no longer contact Lu Juefeng, so she could only call Tan Xiao. She didn't expect such a big thing to happen. I think I made it very clear to you that day in the hotel. Lu Juefeng's eyes instantly became indifferent. He looked at Yin Tong and said, If you don't leave now, don't blame me for telling Mr. L who ambushed Miss in the square that day. Young Master, Yin Tong's face instantly turned pale. She was extremely unfamiliar with this Lu Juefeng. It was as if they had never met before. Was that woman really that important? No, it wasn't. He said this only because Luo Qingchen was Mr. L's granddaughter. He was just ordered to protect her, nothing else. Chapter 2699. You should leave. Lu Juefeng raised his eyes and looked at her with extremely cold eyes. Not to mention that Master has already started investigating this matter. If you want to do anything, I'm afraid no one could save you. Okay. Tan Xiao felt that the atmosphere was not right. Yin Tong was about to cry out a grievance. He hurriedly said, Yin Tong is also worried about you. If you're worried about me, don't hurt her. Lu Juefeng's cold eyes narrowed. His deep eyes flickered with a faint light as he looked at Yin Tong and said, I won't let anyone hurt her. Since he had seen through her heart, then torture her more openly. There was no need to hide. Yin Tong still wanted to say something, but she found that all the words were stuck in her throat. She couldn't say a word. Jealousy, unwillingness, anger, and helplessness surged in her heart. Yin Tong, Tan Xiao sighed and said, You go first. I'll accompany him. If you need anything, just call me. But you don't have anything here. Tan Xiao shrugged and said, He doesn't need you. Yin Tong bit her lip unwillingly. Her eyes were filled with tears. She slowly turned around. Her feet felt like a 1,000-pound rock. She didn't want to take another step forward, but she had to. But she wouldn't give up. She would never give up. No matter what, she couldn't leave him. She couldn't leave. After Yin Tong left, Tan Xiao helped Lu Juefeng change a bottle of infusion. He sat on the sofa at the side and looked at him. His sword-like eyebrows were still imposing, but there was a little gentleness between his eyebrows. Ahem. He cleared his throat and said, As an experienced person, I'll tell you that in your current situation, it's best for you to stay away from the love tribulations. Lu Juefeng frowned and said, What do you mean? Stay away from Miss for the time being. Let your heart calm down a little. Wait until I don't want to. Before Tan Xiao could finish, Lu Juefeng directly rejected his suggestion with incomparable firmness. Stay away from her? It seemed impossible. How to snatch it? He hadn't thought about it yet. But it was impossible to let it go. The only thing that made him uncomfortable was that it was still too painful. His heart, which had been sealed for a long time, throbbed for the first time. It felt like he had been ruthlessly stabbed with a knife before he knew what love was. But even so, he was still in so much pain that he was willing to endure it. AI, why are you so stubborn? Tan Xiao looked at him helplessly and said, Is it fun to torture yourself like this? Interesting. He gently lifted his left hand and pulled out the 4-needle. A thought-provoking smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. At least I can use something special to attract her attention. Tan Xiao was stunned when he heard this. He waved his hand and said, Fine. Now, I finally understood that Mo Ling was right. Love can change a person, making them crazy, silent, and terrifying. This is crazy, but I think it's pretty good. Lu Juefeng narrowed his eyes and said softly, At least I know what I want. Tan Xiao stopped talking and walked to the door silently. She took out her phone and dialed Luo Qingchen's number. He originally thought that if he wanted Lu Juefeng to feel less uncomfortable, the best way was to stay away from her. But now, it seemed that it was almost impossible to get Lu Juefeng to stay away from Luo Qingchen. So why not give it a shot? Chapter 2700. At the same time, Luo Qingchen was lying on the sofa in the outer room with an indescribable feeling of unease in her heart. Today, only Mo Ling had sent her back. The others were not around. However, she had absolute confidence that Lu Juefeng was around when she was at the bar. However, he did not send her back. That 50% of his favorable impression of her caused her to feel terrified and uneasy. Originally, it was something to be happy about. However, she felt as though there was a large stone pressing down on her chest. It was an indescribable feeling. Right at this moment, Mo Ling walked over with a cup of warm milk. Wang Wang was going to send it up. I just happened to come over and bring you some vitamins. Mo Ling handed it over. It's a medicine to save your life. I'm not drunk. Luo Qingchen received the milk with her right hand. Taking a sip, she asked, "Is young Master Phone back?" "No," Mo Ling said solemnly. "Miss, you don't have to worry. There won't be." However, before Mo Ling could finish his words, his phone rang. The caller ID was Tan Xiao. "Hello. Young Masterling, is Miss at home?" "Miss is beside me." Mo Ling took a look at the time. "It's very late. Is there anything important?" If there was something, he would go. Their mission was to protect Luo Qingchen. There was no need for her to do anything. And Tan Xiao hesitated for a moment before saying, "Pass the phone to Mississippi. I just called her, but she didn't pick it up." Seeing Tan Xiao's hesitation, Mo Ling did not say anything else. Instead, he passed the phone to Luo Qingchen. Luo Qingchen gawked for a moment before receiving the phone. "Hello, I'm here." She did not know why, but when Tan Xiao wanted to talk to her, she felt that it should be related to Lu Juefeng. Furthermore, this feeling was extremely strong. "I'm in the VIP ward of the Air Force Hospital." Young Master Phone Hospital? What happened? She could feel her heart thumping, and then it began to beat crazily without stopping. This kind of sudden call from the hospital was the most frightening. That was because there would always be bad news, not good news. Tan Xiao seemed to be able to hear the slight tremor in her voice. The corners of his mouth unconsciously lifted as he said, "It's a lung infection caused by the wound infection. The doctor said that it'll be very dangerous tonight." In the next second, a beeping sound came from the other end of the phone. Luo Qingchen instantly hung up the call. Taking a look at Mo Ling, she placed down the glass of milk in her hand and said, "I'm going to my room to get something." Mo Ling gawked upon hearing those words. Although he did not know what the two of them were talking about, this conversation was truly too confusing. They were in the hospital. If something happened, shouldn't Luo Qingchen ask him to take her to the hospital? Why'd he have to go to the room? You go do what you need to do. As soon as her voice fell, Luo Qingchen turned to enter the inner room. Then, he slammed the door shut. She took a coat, took her phone, and gently closed her eyes. A faint blue light surrounded her body. In the next second, she used her memory to teleport to the VIP ward of the Air Force Hospital. It was already past midnight, and there was basically no one around. The slanted street lights shone on her body, slowly elongating her shadow. It seemed that she had forgotten to ask which ward she was in. In the next second, she picked up her phone and dialed Tan Zhao's number. "Hello, which ward are you in?" "I'm at the entrance of the hospital." "WH what?" Tan Zhao's face instantly turned pale. "Please, the Air Force Hospital is at least half an hour away from the Luo family's villa, even if you drive a Porsche." Chapter 2701. You. Tan Xiao seemed to be stuck. He stuttered for a long time without coming up with a result. "It shouldn't be. How could it be?" Luo Qingchen was still in the Luo family's villa 58 seconds ago. How could she be in front of the Air Force Hospital now? This was simply a fantasy, okay? If he hadn't read a lot of fantasy novels, he would have suspected that she had teleported, okay? "What about you? What's the room number?" Luo Qingchen's eyes trembled, and her tone seemed a little anxious. In this kind of situation, even the scenes in the TV series began to appear in her mind. A doctor in a white coat came out of the operating room, took off his mask, and said to the family, "I'm sorry, we tried our best." "No, of course not. If it was really so serious, Tan Zhao's tone shouldn't be like this." "We're on the 23rd floor." Tan Zhao took a deep breath and trembled. "Call me when you come up later. I can." Tan Zhao, oh my God. Tan Zhao was startled by Luo Qingchen's voice. He took a step back and took a deep breath. "Where's Lu Juefeng?" Luo Qingchen looked at him, patting his chest, and frowned. "You look a little ugly. Can I look good?" Tan Zhao sneered twice and said, "My worldview has changed dramatically in the past 3 minutes. Okay? What change?" "Miss, you have to answer a very, very important question for me first." Tan Zhao narrowed his eyes and pressed her shoulder seriously. "Can I ask?" Luo Qingchen shrugged indifferently and said, "So mysterious. Were you in the villa just now?" "Yes." "Are you in the Air Force hospital now?" "Yes." "Ha." Tan Zhao sneered twice. Luo Qingchen looked at his expression and seemed to understand what he meant. The next second, he continued to ask, "Miss, don't tell me that you're like the heroines in fantasy novels and have superpowers." Luo Qingchen suddenly felt that whatever she said now seemed to be wrong. After all, there was really no good reason to explain. Therefore, she decided to use another ambiguous way to answer. In this era where people believed in science, sometimes the truth might not be believed. "That's right." She smiled fearlessly. "Why, is there a problem?" Tan Zhao sneered and said, "Teleportation." "That's right." Luo Qingchen answered without hesitation once more. Tan Zhao's expression didn't look as ugly as before. He looked at her with a look of admiration and said, "I don't believe a single word. Young mistress and young master Ling must be fooling me. Looks like you're not stupid after all." Luo Qingchen glanced at the clock in the hospital corridor and said, "It's almost 1 o'clock. Tell me the ward number and you can go back first." 2310. Tan Zhao pointed in front and said, "It's the first one on the left." "Okay." Luo Qingchen nodded and said, "Go. Come pick us up tomorrow." "All right." Tan Zhao took off his jacket and handed it to her, saying, "It's cold in winter, so don't get sick. I'll leave young Master Feng to you tonight." "Got it." Luo Qingchen took the jacket and said, "Be careful on the road." Chapter 2702. He must be at the hospital entrance too. Mo Ling looked ahead angrily. "Just you wait." Luo Qingchen smiled awkwardly and said goodbye to Tan Zhao. She could almost imagine his shocked expression when he didn't see Mo Ling at the hospital entrance. Luo Qingchen took a deep breath and knocked on the door as she stood outside room 2310. There was no sound in the room. It was pitch black and the lights weren't turned on. Since it was a VIP room, Lu Juefeng should be the only one in the room. "I'm coming in." Luo Qingchen pushed the door in, probably because Tan Zhao didn't close the door tightly when she left. The room was filled with the faint smell of alcohol. Compared to perfume, she felt that the smell of alcohol was more suitable for her. It numbed her nerves and made her heart beat faster. Lu Juefeng. Lu Juefeng. Before the word phone could fade away, the dark room suddenly lit up. Lu Juefeng walked past her and looked at her with narrowed eyes. "Didn't you go back?" Although he looked calm on the surface, Lu Juefeng knew very well how fast his heart was beating. The more sober he was, the more he couldn't control his emotions. Luo Qingchen froze for a moment before she regained her composure. "I heard from Tan Zhao that you were hospitalized, so I came to see you. So you won't come if I'm not hospitalized?" He raised his eyebrows, and there was a faint light in his deep eyes. As he looked at her, he walked towards her step by step. Luo Qingchen froze and instinctively took a few steps back. When her back was against the wall and she couldn't retreat anymore, she suddenly looked up at Lu Juefeng. "What are you doing? Let's talk nicely. What kind of hero is a Cabotin?" When she said the last few words, her voice clearly became softer. She didn't know if it was because of the tense atmosphere or because she was embarrassed. Anyway, she felt her face burning. She could only look down and didn't dare to look into his eyes. "I heard it. What? Heard what? What kind of hero is a Cabotin? You said you like Yi Lu." Lu Juefeng suddenly leaned close to her and snorted softly in her ear. It seems that Mrs. Taste isn't that good. When he said this, Lu Juefeng still felt uncomfortable in his heart. But since she came to look for him in the middle of the night, she probably still cared about him. If he still didn't give a shot, he was afraid that it would really be like what Tan Xiao had said, tormenting himself for the rest of his life and not being able to bear to let go. Who said I like you, Lu? Luo Qingshun raised her eyebrows slightly and looked at Lu Juefeng seriously. She said word by word, someone only listened to the first half of the sentence and didn't listen to the second half. This is called taking the context out of context. How did you know? Lu Juefeng was slightly stunned. He was not surprised that Luo Qingshun knew that he was following her, but that she knew that he had left at noon. How I know isn't important. Luo Qingshun pursed her lips and said proudly, the important thing is that I don't like you, Lu. If she didn't have a mission, she probably wouldn't even have interacted with you, Lu, let alone have a birthday party. So, Lu Juefeng looked at her sparkling eyes and narrowed his eyes. He asked softly, who does Miss like? He hoped to hear the answer, but was also afraid to hear the answer. He had never been so conflicted in his life. Chapter 27:03. She didn't know if it was because the smell was too strong that it numbed her nerves, or if she wanted a result in her heart. Faced with Lu Juefeng's question, she perhaps. There was only one thing she wanted to do. Luo Qingshun's eyes trembled and her long lashes sparkled. She quickly stood on her tiptoes to place a kiss on his cheek. She quickly lowered her head and her right hand touched her ear out of habit. She said in a small but clear voice, you. She didn't know how long it had been, but it was around 3-5 seconds. The room was silent, like one could hear a pin drop on the ground clearly. Just as she raised her head in confusion, his cool lips kissed her instantly. That feeling was like a buzz in her ears, and then her mind went blank. Shouldn't it be a small kiss on the cheek? Why did it suddenly become such a hot kiss? Luo Qingshun didn't react at all. A certain person's right hand moved with her and pulled her into his embrace. The series of actions flowed like water, but the lips that kissed her were still soft and lingering, not being careless at all. Ding! Affection has increased by 20. Mission completion rate is now 100%. Lu Juefeng. She forcefully struggled, and because her arm was too strong, she touched his wound. She saw him slightly knit his brows. Although he stopped kissing, the hand holding her waist didn't relax. Murder? Lu Juefeng lowered his head and looked at her with a faint gaze. His face was a bit pale as he looked at her and said, but you seem to have failed. Is it very painful? Luo Qingshun was a bit nervous. He was wearing white casual clothes, and his wound was wrapped in thick gauze. But even like this, one could still see the blood seeping out. It was very shocking. What kind of pain is this? He narrowed his eyes and said with a self-deprecating smile, you don't know what pain is. Even if he was hugging her now, it felt like he had her. But as long as he thought of the conversation he had with Yilu a few hours ago, he could still feel the piercing pain in his heart and the suffocating feeling. It turned out that he was so obsessed with the word like. If caring was a disease, he really had a terrifying feeling. The feeling of being sick beyond cure. And let me go first. Luo Qingshun frowned slightly. She looked at the 4 drip not far away and said, you haven't even finished the drip. Didn't Tan Xiao say that you were infected? No. Luo Qingshun looked at the cold and indifferent face in front of her, suddenly becoming this stubborn and proud appearance. Why did she have the urge to beat him up? Can't you get injections, medicine, and fluids if you're sick or injured? So willful. No, why was he so childish? Unless you say that you don't like Yi Lu at all. Lu Juefeng was no longer suppressing his emotions. What one thinks, what one says, what one thinks, what one acts. I never liked Yi Lu in the first place, okay? Luo Qingshun shrugged helplessly and said, I only found out today that you are such a Lu Juefeng. What? Are you regretting choosing me over Yi Lu? Childish. Luo Qingshun snorted. But it's quite cute. Cute? Lu Juefeng chuckled helplessly. How is this cute? Chapter 27:04. Okay. He nodded gently with a proud look on his face. It was as if he was an obedient child who got a precious toy, not the serious young master phone. After the drip, Luo Qingshun sat on the chair beside the bed and flipped through his medical records and the bottles of medicine. Although it was not as serious as Tan Xiao said, it was not light either. The wound infection is more serious than the first time. Luo Qingshun frowned and looked at him angrily. Mr. Lu, what did you do to make yourself like this? Lu Juefeng listened, and the corner of his mouth unconsciously raised into a faint smile. What are you laughing at? Luo Qingshun felt that he did not listen to her at all, or go in one ear and out the other. He was living in his own paradise. I'm just very happy. Lu Juefeng raised his right hand and patted her head. I guess it's because I like to see you worry about me. I like it very much. What? Luo Qingshun laughed dryly and said, Are you a psychopath? His body was clearly not feeling well, and the other person had an angry look on his face. Instead, he was laughing happily at the side. If this was not a psychopath, then what was? So being sick is a good thing. Being injured is a good thing. Anything that can make you worry is a good thing. Lu Juefeng seemed to have discovered a certain truth and said each word with conviction. If you get injured again, I don't want you anymore. Luo Qingshun put her hands on her waist and said angrily, Do you dare to get injured again? How dare he threaten her? This is too much. If you don't want me, then there is only one reason. Lu Juefeng thought for a moment and said, The injury is not serious enough. You. Luo Qingshun was so angry that she had nowhere to vent. She could only slap the table a few times and said, Don't go too far. Otherwise, I will bring up the old story again. I still remember when someone first knew about the existence of Luo Qingshun. The order he gave was to kill without mercy. Hey, yo. Right. Seeing that he was a little anxious, Luo Qingshun continued to say with a smile, The picture on the glass is still of me, with a big cross drawn with a red pen. I still have the picture. Mr. Lu, do you want to take a look? Don't. Hearing Luo Qingshun bring up this matter again, Lu Juefeng was almost instantly terrified. He looked at her with a face full of self-blame and explained, Miss, Lu Juefeng was still young and immature at that time. Please don't be calculative with him. The one who casually gets sick and injured is the one who doesn't understand. Luo Qingshun said with a shrug. I feel that he hasn't changed. After going in such a big circle, she seemed to have finally gotten back her face. She was really happy. No. Lu Juefeng immediately shook his head and looked at her sincerely. It's different now. He's grown up and is sensible. So you still dare to get sick, get injured, and draw a big red cross on people's photos. I wouldn't dare. Lu Juefeng answered with certainty. Absolutely not. Looking at him like this, Luo Qingshun couldn't help but laugh. His feeling was really good. It was as if they were the only ones in the world, quiet and beautiful. Miss, you look really good when you smile. Lu Juefeng narrowed his eyes. There was a soft light in his eyes, warm and doting. Unfortunately, this beautiful atmosphere did not last for 3 minutes. Lu Juefeng's phone rang. Chapter 2705. Why is this person so tactless? Lu Juefeng answered the call with his left hand, not forgetting to hold her hand with his right. His gaze was faint and deep. Young Master Feng, don't say anything. Listen to me, Tan Xiao said in a deep voice. Young miss. As soon as he arrived at the Luo family's villa, he immediately headed to Mo Ling's room to reprimand him. He actually dared to collude with young miss to deceive him. This was too much. However, when he arrived at Mo Ling's room, Mo Ling, come out. Tan Xiao slammed the door angrily. You came back before me. Are you acting? In the next second, the door to Mo Ling's room opened. Wearing a bathrobe, he wiped his wet hair and said, What's with the ruckus in the middle of the night? You're taking a shower? And Mo Ling sized him up. Aren't you in the hospital? Why are you back? Didn't you send young miss to the hospital? That's why I came back. Tan Xiao leaned against the door and looked at him. Can you stop acting? Young Master Ling, I always thought that you wouldn't do something so senseless. I never expected. Isn't young miss in her room? Mo Ling frowned. What exactly are you talking about? Room. Tan Xiao saw that Mo Ling's expression didn't seem to be joking. His face instantly turned solemn as he asked in doubt, "So, when I called you earlier, you and young miss were really at home? What else could it be?" Mo Ling shrugged and said with a helpless smile, "Should we be in the hospital?" After listening to Mo Ling's serious words, Tan Xiao felt as though his entire body had turned unwell. He subconsciously pinched his face. It was rather painful. Since it wasn't a dream, what exactly did he experience? Could it be that their young miss really had special abilities? After Tan Xiao told Mo Ling about this matter, Mo Ling didn't believe it at all. Although Luo Qingchen's expression was somewhat strange when she returned to her room, he had still seen her enter the room with his own eyes. No matter what, she shouldn't be in the hospital like Tan Xiao said, unless she immediately went to the hospital after returning to her room. Therefore, in order to clarify the matter, Tan Xiao decided to give Lu Juefeng a call and tell him his guess. Little did he know that before he could say anything, Lu Juefeng had already interrupted him. "She's with me," Lu Juefeng said coldly. "Is there anything else?" "If there's nothing else, I'm hanging up." Wait. Tan Xiao hurriedly stopped Lu Juefeng from hanging up the phone and said loudly, "I suspect that Miss is someone who obtained her superpower from a fantasy story." What? Lu Juefeng couldn't believe Tan Xiao's words. Although his thoughts were usually a bit wild, he shouldn't go so far as to say something like Miss has a superpower, right? It's true. Tan Xiao didn't know how to explain herself. She could only stomp her feet and say weakly, "When I called Miss, she was at home. But less than a minute after I hung up the phone, she was already at the hospital entrance." How terrifying, how inconceivable, how appalling. After all, there was no other way to explain this matter other than with a special ability. Chapter 2706. Although he didn't know whether Tan Xiao was telling the truth or not, it didn't seem to be important to Lu Juefeng. Now, he just needed to be sure that the person beside him was the person he wanted the most in his life. Everything else, whether she was a Martian, a Saturnian, or a person from a planet with abilities, didn't seem to be important. Moreover, he didn't think that Tan Xiao was telling the truth. After Lu Juefeng hung up the phone, Luo Qingchen glanced sideways and blinked. He said, "I have abilities?" "Yeah. Then why aren't you surprised at all?" "Surprised?" Lu Juefeng raised his eyes and smiled. "Why should I be surprised?" Luo Qingchen rested her chin on her left hand and tapped the bed with the fingertips of her right hand. She said, "In this world that advocates science, shouldn't people be surprised by abilities?" "So you can?" He narrowed his eyes and looked at her with a scrutinizing gaze. Luo Qingchen froze for a moment, then tilted her head and blinked. "Guess." The next second, Lu Juefeng gently tickled the bridge of her nose. "I'm not guessing." "Why?" "Because whether you can or not has nothing to do with whether I like you or not. That wasn't something he cared about, and he would never care about it." Luo Qingchen smiled softly, and there was a satisfaction in her eyes that no one knew about. She probably liked this feeling very much. There was someone who liked her, regardless of identity and everything else. It was like pure and beautiful. It was as if the smell of alcohol in the air had a slight hint of sweetness. Spring, winter, and autumn came. "White tea and Qinghuan, it's good to have you." On this particularly sweet night, a lot of things actually happened. For example, the always bold Tan Xiao locked himself in the room, wrapped himself tightly in the quilt, and desperately let his imagination run wild. He was a science fanatic and had the title of a math genius. For example, when he picked up the Rubik's Cube for the first time, he could put it back together after a few glances. After a few more times, he could put the Rubik's Cube back together in a minute. Once such a person encountered something that could not be explained by science, he would be particularly conflicted, especially when he had not seen it with his own eyes. In the middle of the night, he suddenly sat up and muttered, "Don't tell me I'm suffering from schizophrenia?" In the next second, he nodded to himself. After lying down, he muttered to himself again, and "Go see a psychiatrist tomorrow." Of course, in addition to the fun and relaxing things, there was one more thing. That was Yin Tong. The Air Force Hospital was the hospital where Chun Nan had brought her for identification. Yin Tong, who had long been filled with jealousy, would never believe that Luo Qingshan was Mr. L's granddaughter. So many people in the past few years were fake, so she couldn't be real. Leaving Lu Juefeng's side for the past few days gave her enough time to investigate this matter. Sure enough, the heavens didn't disappoint those who worked hard. She really did find some clues. To her, even if it was just a small clue, it was still an important clue to confirm her thoughts. It was said that the doctor who did the DNA test for Luo Qingshan applied for leave on the same day. No one knew the reason, but how could there be such a coincidence in this world? Someone must be playing tricks behind the scenes in order to make Luo Qingshan become Mr. L's granddaughter. But in fact, the truth must be, she was not, absolutely not. Late at night, Yintong passed through the ward and walked to the medical staff's duty room. Chapter 2707. Dr. Lin hasn't been here recently. I feel much more relaxed. Suing looked at the handsome doctor, Liang Feng, who was on duty today and was in a particularly good mood. Recently, she had been on duty with Dr. Liang Feng, so she always hoped that Dr. Lin would not come back. That way, she could always look at the handsome man and not the bald man. Ha! Liang Feng narrowed his eyes and looked at her with a smile. It's my honor to be on duty with such a beautiful nurse. He. Suing covered her mouth and smiled shyly. It's just that working the night shift in the hospital always makes people feel especially scared. I'm timid. Don't be afraid. Liang Feng got up and walked to her side. He touched her hand and said, I'm a black belt in Taekwondo. It's more than enough to protect you. As he said that, his right hand rubbed Su Ying's waist. Suing shyly leaned against him. The hot flames seemed to be burning crazily around them. At this moment, the office door was suddenly opened. The woman stays. The man gets lost. Yintong's voice was very cold. There was almost no warmth in it. With heavy smoky makeup and blazing red lips, she was full of the aura of an agent killer. Ah! Su Ying's face instantly turned pale. She was so scared that she hid in Liang Feng's arms. Liang Feng had seen many people. Naturally, he could feel that the person in front of him was not to be trifled with. This was the Air Force Hospital. The VIP ward was filled with rich people. The security system was also very strict. People who could come here in the middle of the night were definitely not simple. He could clearly feel that his legs were weak and his hands were cold. However, the words he said a second ago about being a black belt in Taekwondo still rang in his ears. Suddenly running away was too much of a loss of a man's dignity. Moreover, it was clear that this young nurse was very interested in him. There should be no problem sleeping with her. Liang Feng thought clearly in a few seconds. He decided to grit his teeth and be brave for once. Who are you? Liang Feng pointed at Yintong and said, This is the doctor's office. Don't mess around. Don't blame me for being rude. Haha, with just you? Yintong quickly came to Liang Feng's side and grabbed his neck with her right hand. She looked at him coldly and said, Maybe I didn't say it clearly just now. I'll say it again. You scram or die. Liang Feng's face was completely red, and he was clearly in great pain as he begged for mercy. Let go of me. I'll scram. I'll scram. Humph. Yintong suddenly waved her right hand and roared, Scram. In the next second, Liang Feng scrambled out of the room. He didn't even look at Su Ying. In the face of the so-called life and death, this handsome guy became so embarrassed that he did not hesitate to put down the girl that he had just vowed to protect. Don't come over. Su Ying cried as he retreated. Don't kill me, don't kill me. I'll give you all my money. I'll give it all to you. I don't need your money. I don't need your lowly life either. Yintong took out a dagger from her leather boots and lifted Su Ying's chin. I only want you to answer a few questions. Please tell me, please tell me. Su Ying's voice trembled as he stuttered. I will definitely not tell you what I know. Chapter 2708. Lin. Dr. Lin. Su Ying was probably too frightened. After a few seconds, she regained her senses and said while trembling, He went on vacation. When did he go on vacation? Yintong's eyes glowed with a faint light, and she continued to ask with an unconcealed smile, For what reason did he go on vacation? Su Ying tried hard to recall, biting her lip and said, Heroin. I don't remember the specific time. But I remember that a distinguished guest came to the hospital that day to check the paternity test. And then? Yin Tong couldn't wait to press her shoulder and roared. And then what? I remember he said something like, "It's over," and then reminded me that he had to take a vacation for a while. No matter who comes to him, don't tell them where he went. Su Ying said anxiously, but I really don't know where he went. Yin Tong did not respond, but quickly left the room. It seemed that she guessed correctly. Luo Qingshun was really not Mr. L's granddaughter. Someone was helping her, and it must be for some purpose. She must quickly collect evidence, and then put the evidence in front of Lu Juefeng and tell him that the person he was protecting was not the daughter of the Luo family at all. She had a purpose to get close to Mr. L, get close to the Luo family, and even get close to him. The next second, she took out her mobile phone and dialed a special number. The moment it was connected, she said, "Check all the people who took paternity tests in the Air Force hospital in the past month. I want all the information tonight. Then get rid of the nurse." It was raining heavily, and the sky seemed to be changing color. The next morning, Ward 2310 of the Air Force Hospital. Luo Qingshun didn't know when she fell asleep. She seemed to be leaning on the small sofa beside the bed, playing with her mobile phone while being watched by Lu Juefeng. She fell asleep as she stared at the screen. When she got up in the morning, she was lying alone in the large ward of the VIP room. Lu Juefeng was not around, and there was a bowl of porridge and a few dishes on the table at the head of the bed, as well as a note. There was a line of beautiful words written with a pen on it. "After waking up, wash up and have breakfast first. I will go through the discharge procedures." Luo Qingshun looked at the note, and the corners of her mouth unconsciously raised a faint smile. This feeling was really good. The warm sunlight and the warm people could make her smile knowingly. But in the next second, she suddenly felt a little confused. Discharge procedures? Why did Lu Juefeng have to do this kind of thing himself? Was it because Yin Tong was not by his side, so he had to do it himself? Last night, she pretended to be proud and mentioned Yin Tong to him. He just touched her head gently and said with a smile, "Don't you think she hasn't appeared for a long time?" It seemed like she had wronged young Master Feng, one of the 4 great young masters. But that wasn't the case. Su Ying was dead. He jumped from the office on the 20th floor and died on the spot. There were no signs of struggle in the office. It looked like a suicide, but at the same time, nearly a month's worth of test reports in the office computer disappeared. How is it? Lu Juefeng looked at the superintendent and asked, "Is it suicide or homicide?" "Master Feng," the superintendent replied, "I'm not sure yet, but the information that Master Feng mentioned has been confirmed." The information in the test report? Lu Juefeng frowned and fell into deep thought. It seemed like someone was investigating Luo Qingshun. Who was it? Who dared to investigate Luo Qingshun under his nose? Chapter 2709. After breakfast, Lu Juefeng came back on time to pick her up. It felt like she was the patient. "Did you sleep well?" Lu Juefeng picked up her coat from the sofa and put it on her body. "It's snowing outside. Don't catch a cold." Luo Qingshun looked at him helplessly. "I should be the one saying that to you. You are the Mississippi," he faintly smiled. His eyes were filled with adoration. "Ong." Luo Qingshun pretended to be disappointed and shrugged. "So Mr. Lu Juefeng is only protecting me because I'm a miss?" Intentional words must include the full name and surname. "It's still because you're our little girl," Lu Juefeng said while buttoning her coat. "Let's go." Sitting in Lu Juefeng's car, Luo Qingshun didn't forget to ask him about his wound. He smiled gently and said, "When I was working under Master, I suffered many injuries, but none of them were as serious as this." "Why?" Luo Qingshun frowned and asked, "Is it because of the gunshot wound?" "Because of you." He smiled helplessly. "After all, if it wasn't serious, how could the miss come to see me?" He had a faint smile on his face as he spoke sweet nothings that everyone could understand. The snowflakes outside the window were like goose feathers. The atmosphere was so warm. She smiled and picked up a small doll hanging in the car. "I didn't expect young Master Feng to like this kind of thing. Everyone has one. Joker had it custom-made and said it looks like our doll." "Ah." Luo Qingshun turned the doll around. "This is you." No wonder it looks so familiar. If you like it, I'll ask him to make one for you next time. Lu Juefeng raised his right hand and touched her little head. His eyes were full of doting. No. Luo Qing Chun pursed her lips and said, I want this. Give it to me. Lu Juefeng looked at her clear eyes and nodded with a smile. Okay. At the same time, in a hotel room, after a night of sorting, Yin Tong finally found the information about Luo Qingchen. 70%. No wonder the doctor ran away. It turned out that Luo Qingchen was not Mr. L's granddaughter at all, so he had to run. This was really exciting news. Perhaps this time, the Luo clan was going to change. And Lu Juefeng, young Master Feng, that was her young Master Feng. She would never let anyone take him away from her. Of course, before that, she had to give Luo Qingchen some stimulation. Ever since she appeared, her life had changed completely. Originally, she was the envy of many girls because she could stay by Lu Juefeng's side and enjoy the life of a superior. But ever since Luo Qingchen appeared, she began to be alarmed. She always felt that she was being restrained, afraid that she would tell others about her assassination attempt. She was even more afraid that Lu Juefeng would wash his hands of everything and use her as a scapegoat. Therefore, when Lu Juefeng asked her to leave, although she was unwilling, she thought about it carefully. If she wanted to thoroughly solve this matter, she had to thoroughly investigate Luo Qingchen's identity. She didn't believe that she could find her granddaughter in the vast sea of people. The possibility of her being fake was too high. Unfortunately, Mr. L didn't know the truth. Then, it was up to her to uncover this ugly truth. On the campus in early winter, the scene of white snow scattered on the playground was so beautiful. Luo Qingchen leaned against the window. The corner of her mouth unconsciously raised a faint smile. Chapter 2710. Luo Qingchen frowned slightly. She felt uneasy. Just then, Mo Ling walked to her side. Something happened. Where's young Master Feng? He received a call when we just got to school. He seemed to have something urgent and left. Luo Qingchen pursed her lips. What happened? Someone purposely spread your identity. Mo Ling frowned. Let's go to the VIP lounge first. Before she could react, the news had already spread throughout the school. The people in the class who had been fawning over her were now looking at her with disdain and disdain. Let's go first. She narrowed her eyes. Her gaze was calm, but her heart was calm. It was the first time she walked through the corridor outside the classroom. No one made way for her. There were even some people who wanted to watch the show and purposely blocked her path. Yo, isn't this the Luo family's young miss? A blonde girl said. Why is it only 70%? You're wrong. Didn't you see the test? Of course I saw it. Hug. In the next second, Mo Ling walked up without hesitation and grabbed the blonde girl. He looked at her with killing intent. If you say another word, don't blame me for being impolite. Let go of me. Mo Ling retracted his right hand and coldly let go of her neck. At this moment, Luo Qingchen felt that Mo Ling's entire body was emitting waves of cold air. He was usually cold, but he was never like this. You. Fine. Xia Yu's face was red. She placed her hands on her hips and said, I don't care if you 4 young masters want to pretend that you didn't see it. But the truth is right in front of me. I'll wait for the result. Mo Ling ignored her and pulled Luo Qingchen's arm and walked forward. The walk from the classroom to the conference room wasn't long, but it made her feel the so-called coldness of human nature. She even saw Yi Lu's figure in the crowd. When he saw her gaze, he looked away. Luo Qingchen didn't care. Instead, she felt more comfortable. In the past, she had felt a little guilty towards this young man, but now, it had really disappeared in this first snow. The aristocrat high school had a lounge dedicated to the 4 princes. When Luo Qingchen and Mo Ling arrived, Yin Zhe and Tan Xiao were already inside. You're finally here. Tan Xiao hurriedly walked forward and said, What's going on? What is this? Tan Xiao placed the photocopied report on the table and said, Miss, we believe you. But can you tell us if someone made up this result, or no one made it up? Luo Qingchen casually found a sofa chair and sat down. She habitually tapped the table with her right hand and said, This was the result when Uncle Nan took me to the hospital for a paternity test. What? Yinze was shocked. Then aren't you Master's granddaughter? I am, Luo Qingshun said very calmly. Who told you that I'm not? What was real, and what was fake. Luo Qingshun roughly knew who was playing tricks behind the scenes. Since that person wanted to play so much, she might as well play to the fullest. Knock, knock, knock. Who is it? Tan Xiao narrowed her eyes and went to open the door. Chapter 27:11. In the next second, Mo Ling, who was standing not far away from her, was visibly startled as a faint light flashed through her eyes. Luo Qingshun's mind spun as she vaguely recalled the first time she had spoken to Mo Ling. She had pleaded with her not to return to Mubei 3rd High School. Could it be because of a girl? Student Luo lost a doll just now. When I chased after her, it was already too late to give it to her. Gu Hongfei handed the doll over to Tan Xiao. Help me give it to her. Oh, right. Gu Hongfei took out a bottle of yogurt from her bag. Help me give this to her too. Drink more yogurt and you'll be in a good mood. For some reason, Luo Qingshun suddenly stood up and walked towards the door. She looked at Gu Hongfei and said, Hey, come in. Gu Hongfei was stunned for a moment. Clearly, she was still in a daze. Luo Qingshun's eyebrows twitched slightly as she looked at Luo Qingshun's bag. There was a doll that looked very similar to the one in her hand. You have this doll too. After Luo Qingshun took the doll from Luo Qingshun, she pretended to be puzzled and asked, Student, where did you get this doll? Miss. Tan Xiao gave her a look, but she pretended not to see anything. After experiencing so much, she might not be the best in other aspects, but when it came to judging people, if she said she was number 1, no one would dare to say they were number 2. She felt that this Gu Hongfei was a pretty good girl. Since she had met a pretty good girl, there was nothing wrong with roping her in. Host obviously wants to watch the show. Oh my god. What's wrong with you? Gu Hongfei was shocked by Luo Qingshun's words. She laughed awkwardly. Actually, she was the one who was really shocked, okay? The system had not appeared for hundreds of years. Was it trying to scare her to death by suddenly speaking? TSK, TSK, TSK. Don't you want to watch the show? The system wants to watch. Asterisk caret asterisk. Oh, then shut up and stop making noise. Oh, it's fine. Luo Qingshun waved her hand. Come in. I've heard about you from Mo Ling. I finally met you in person. In the next second, Mo Ling turned around in shock to look at Luo Qingshun. Just as he was about to say something, his words were stuck in his throat. Does he talk about me often? Gu Hongfei's eyes trembled, but the corners of her mouth were no longer raised. Standing by the side, Tan Xiao was even more astonished by Mo Ling's words. After all, the name Gu Hongfei was Mo Ling's weak spot. How could he mention it so often? Yeah. Luo Qingshun pursed her lips as she looked at Mo Ling. A girl is already here. Why aren't you inviting her to sit? Miss, Mo Ling said with a frown. The matter we're dealing with right now is still very troublesome. It's better for outsiders not to get involved. When Gu Hongfei heard this, her face clearly showed a disappointed expression. She took a deep breath and handed the yogurt to Luo Qingshun. I won't interfere with your business. I'll go back first. Luo Qingshun wanted to stop her, but Mo Ling spoke up first. Miss, we should deal with our own matters first. Mo Ling said with a frown. This matter has definitely reached Master's ears. We need to think of a countermeasure first. Chapter 27:12. Luo Qingshun's words caused everyone present to gawk. Even Gu Hongfei, who had just entered the lounge, did not understand what was going on. Right now, the entire academy was spreading the news that Luo Qingshun was an imposter. At this moment, there was practically no one who could stop the pressure of public opinion. If it did not stop these rumors from spreading, the consequences would be unimaginable. Miss, you already have a countermeasure? Tan Xiao rolled his eyes and asked, Could it be that you already know who is spreading the news? Is it important who is spreading the news? Luo Qingshun's brows moved slightly as she said with a smile. Furthermore, your young Master Feng should have gone to look for her. Then, how does Miss plan to settle this matter? Mo Ling's eyes flickered. She wanted to look at Gu Hongfei, yet did not dare to do so. Luo Qingqian shrugged her shoulders and said, "Simple. How? How many people do you need?" Tan Xiao said with a deadpan expression, "I'll go prepare." "Wah, you guys really can't wrap your heads around it." Luo Qingqian shook her head and said with a helpless smile, "The truth will always be the truth. Grandfather and I can just go and do another paternity test. Why would we need any countermeasure?" Everyone present gawked before sucking in a breath of cold air. They seemed to have really complicated this matter and had always been thinking about how to make others believe that it was fake. However, they had never thought that Luo Qingqian might be the real deal. But Tan Xiao frowned slightly and said, "As of now, even we don't have any certainty that Miss is truly the granddaughter of Master. Why is Miss so certain?" Luo Qingqian nodded her head and said with a smile, "Didn't you guys say that there have been many people impersonating your Miss in the past few years?" "That's right." Yanzei pouted his lips and said, "There are so many people." He did not know whether to like or hate Luo Qingqian. He felt that her appearance had caused Yin Tong to leave. However, she had also caused Yin Tong to leave Lu Juefeng. He had his own selfish motives. However, at this moment, he was somewhat at a loss. Why are they impersonating Luo Qingqian? For the sake of money, fame, and vanity. That's why young Master Feng initially thought that it would be best if Miss didn't appear. It's a pity that he's regretting it so much right now. Mo Ling couldn't help but interject. "Uft." Luo Qingqian couldn't help but chuckle. "But why do you trust me so much?" "It's probably because you two have interacted before." Gu Hongfei said slowly, "Only those who have interacted with each other will know that a person's character is far superior to anything else." Mo Ling gawked for a moment before falling silent. Tan Xiao nodded and said, "That is indeed the case. Therefore, I don't think Miss is pretending to be Master's granddaughter for money, fame, or hypocrisy. You know best that I don't need these things." Luo Qingqian raised her eyebrows and said, "With my ability, why would I need these tacky things?" Tan Zhao's eyes instantly widened as he looked at Luo Qingqian and said, You, are you admitting it? You went from the villa to the hospital with a whoosh?" Everyone looked at Tan Xiao with doubtful gazes. Only Mo Ling seemed to understand a little of what Tan Xiao had said. However, she didn't completely understand it. With a calm expression, Luo Qingqian took 2 sips of the yogurt that Gu Hongfei had given her and said, "I've never denied it." "Oh my God." Tan Xiao swallowed his saliva and said, That's too exaggerated." Chapter 27:13. At the same time, on the highest floor of the academy, Yin Tong casually threw the papers downstairs, and one by one, the papers flew in the air. Lu Juefeng stood not far away, half squinting his eyes, his whole body exuding a burst of cold air, as if to freeze the people around him. "Young Master." Yin Tong's eyes carried a faint liguang. She looked sideways at Lu Juefeng and said, "Why don't you believe me? She is a fake. She is really a fake. Maybe she has the intention to get close to you." When Yin Tong said these words, she could feel the pain in her heart. Why didn't Lu Juefeng believe her? If he believed her, then Luo Qingqian would have no chance at all. How could this fake be a rich young miss for so many days? Has the intention to get close to me? Lu Juefeng's deep eyes suddenly became a little gentle and faintly curved his lips. How much do I hope she has the intention to get close to me? Why? Hearing this, Yin Tong's voice instantly choked with sobs. She threw a whole stack of papers downstairs like crazy and roared hoarsely, "Young Master, didn't you protect her and let her get close to you because she is a young lady? It must be like this. It must be like this." This was the last line of defense in her heart. But why was she so afraid that this line of defense would collapse in an instant at this moment? "I didn't protect her because she is a young miss." Lu Juefeng's cold eyes narrowed and looked at her with cold eyes like an arrow. "You have been by my side for so many years, but you really don't understand anything. Young Master won't like her. Young Master won't." Yin Tong bit her lips and muttered to herself, crystal clear tears falling down drop by drop. This was a dream of hers, like a dream in a fairy tale. She was by his side, and those orioles and swallows didn't dare to get close. No one could get close to him, and he never looked at any girl. Only her, only her, only her. But now, I don't like her. Lu Juefeng slightly nodded, as if he was asking himself, as if he was laughing foolishly. A few seconds later, he seemed to have seen through his heart and said with a chuckle, probably deep love. In the past, Lu Juefeng felt that facing his own heart was a very difficult thing. But now he felt that it was a very warm thing. It was a kind of joy that placed her on top of his heart. I don't believe it, Yin Tong shouted. I don't believe it. He would never believe it. Young master, she's just a fake. So what? Lu Juefeng raised his eyebrows and looked at Yin Tong coldly. If that's the case, it's good. At least I don't have to ask master and can marry her properly. If she could also be a live-in son-in-law with a clear conscience. The surrounding air fell into silence. Yin Tong didn't say anything. Her eyes became empty. She thought that Lu Juefeng would hate Luo Qingshun after she revealed the truth, but she didn't expect that not only did he not hate her, but instead his originally cold eyes became so gentle. After a long time, she smiled coldly. Her eyes were very sharp. She said word by word, but you can't protect her. She is fake. Mr. L will not let her go. Ha 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 ha. I will definitely not let her off. Chapter 27:14. Lu Juefeng ignored her. This matter was indeed tricky. He had more important things to do. The next second, he dialed Yin Zhe's phone and said, on the roof of building A, go and find Yin Tong. Don't let her run away. After that, Lu Juefeng didn't stay at school. Instead, he drove straight back to Luo's villa. Luo Baiwan was sitting in the living room with a gloomy face. Chun Nin was standing next to him with a frown. Master, it's about Miss. Lu Juefeng stepped forward and was about to explain. Luo Baiwan knocked his crutch angrily and said, who is it? How dare they spread such rumors? Do they think there's no one in the Luo family? Lu Juefeng was stunned. Luo Baiwan didn't doubt Luo Qingshun's identity at all. Instead, he believed that she was real without hesitation. Why? Master Feng, I won't hide it from you, Chen Nan explained. In fact, Miss and old Madam are almost the same when they were young. Although Master later had another wife, he still couldn't forget the appearance of the former Madam. Therefore, he never doubted Miss when he first saw her. Chen Nan paused and said the first time, of course, didn't refer to the Luo family. In the next half an hour, Chen Nan said something that even a meticulous person like Lu Juefeng didn't know. The first time Luo Baiwan saw Luo Qingshun was when they met on the street. It was just a hurried meeting. However, because Luo Qingshun was too similar to the former madam, he asked Chun Nan to investigate this matter. The investigation didn't take long. Soon, he got all the information about Luo Qingshun. Before going to hospital with Luo Qingshun for the first time, they had already identified her identity. After all, it was very easy for the Luo family to get her hair and other things. Therefore, the second time, Chun Nan only did the identification to reassure Luo Qingshun. He didn't expect that there would be an accident, and the so-called accident was also investigated by Chun Nan in the next day. He didn't say it because there was no need to say it. However, he didn't expect that someone would make a fuss about it. The sound of hurried footsteps could be heard. Two men in black suits walked in. They glanced at Chun Nan and then at Lu Juefeng. Chun Nan waved his hand and said, "Speak." "Yes." One of them said, "We've investigated thoroughly. It's young Master Feng's previous attendant, Yin Tong." Yin Tong. Chun Nan frowned and looked at Lu Juefeng. You don't have to doubt me." Lu Juefeng laughed at himself and looked up. "I am someone who can use my life to protect her." "I know." Chun Nan narrowed his eyes and said, "The assassins we met in the square were also arranged by Yin Tong. We've already caught the killers outside of the country, and we've also confirmed the trajectory of the bullets. It's just that I haven't seen Yin Tong since then. I always thought you had already dealt with it. I asked Yin Zhe to look for her." Lu Juefeng looked up and said, I wanted to come back and explain to Master first, yes. We've already sent someone to deal with Mrs. Matter urgently. You don't need to worry about it. Chen looked at him and said, You go to the school and bring Miss back first. Master is afraid that she will think too much. Yes, yes, yes. Hurry up and bring Qing back. Okay. Chen walked from Lu Juefeng to the door. When he saw him off, he didn't forget to smile meaningfully and said, Young Master Feng tried to kill Miss for the first time. Do you regret it now? Chapter 27:15. If he had known that one day he would love her so much without regard for his life, he would have designed a scene of a hero saving a damsel in distress and made her fall in love with him at first sight. Ha ha! Chen couldn't help but laugh. You youngsters, sometimes you're too impulsive. I know you did it for Master's sake, but some things can't be avoided just because you want to. Uncle Nan, I don't want to avoid it. Lu Juefeng responded seriously. After this incident, I hope Uncle Nan can help me put in a good word with Master. Ahem! Chun cleared his throat and chuckled. Miss is Master's treasure. You have to bribe me a lot. Lu Juefeng chuckled and said, Okay. The entire incident was handled much faster than Luo Qingchun had imagined. In the afternoon, the school directly refuted the rumors on the big screen, and Luo Baiwan personally recorded a video to explain the matter to everyone. In the business circle, Luo Baiwan was a powerful tycoon. He had always dealt with these kinds of rumors with violence and never explained to anyone. But today, as a grandfather, he announced to everyone that Luo Qingchun was his granddaughter. He also attached a complete DNA report and a photo of the old lady. When everyone saw the photo, they were completely stunned. Although the photo was a bit old, they could still see how similar the two of them were from their eyebrows. At the end of the video, Luo Baiwan said something that was both protective and threatening. My granddaughter will never be bullied by anyone. The people who bullied her no longer exist. In the morning, when Luo Qingchun's identity was still unknown, the people who had rolled their eyes and mocked her were now pale and trembling. Luo family. Who dared to offend them? In the afternoon, Luo Qingchun didn't go to school after being picked up by Lu Juefeng. It was said that the blonde girl called Xia Yuyu had been looking for her for a long time. Luo family's coffee shop. This kind of person is really a petty person who fawns over the rich and powerful. After hearing this, Tan Xiao didn't forget to tell Luo Qingchun, Miss, you mustn't forgive her. Forgive? Luo Qingchun took a sip of coffee and said, I don't even plan on seeing her. Everyone has to be responsible for what they say and do. Since they had decided to provoke her, it meant that they had already made up their minds and had to bear the consequences. Handsome, handsome, handsome. Tan Xiao gave her a thumbs up and said, I like this kind of miss. As the cold wind blew, snow fell from the sky. Luo Qingchun rested her chin on her left hand and glanced at the scene beside the swimming pool on the first floor. Mo Ling and Gu Hongfei seemed to be talking about something before Gu Hongfei gave him a push. However, she seemed to have used too much force, causing her to slip and fall. At this moment, Mo Ling finally held her hand. The three people in the coffee shop all smiled at the same time. It seemed that she had made the right decision to bring Gu Hongfei to the Luo family. Sigh, all of you are in pairs, leaving me as a lonely old man, Tan Xiao said with a sad face. How am I supposed to live like this? Don't you still have Yan? Luo Qingchun seemed to have thought of something. In the next second, her gaze fell on Lu Juefeng. At the same time, Lu Juefeng also happened to look at her, causing a slight frown to appear on his face. Probably because the matter had been resolved too smoothly, and bringing her home had gone too smoothly. Even he had forgotten about Yan Zhe. Chapter 27:16. In a dark bar, there weren't many people in the bar because it was afternoon. In the VIP room, Yin Tong drank glass after glass of wine. Yan Zhe sat next to her silently. Lu Juefeng asked him to take her back, but he knew very well. If he really took her back, according to the character of the master and Luo Qingchun's current status in the Luo family, Yin Tong would probably die. He liked her so much, so how could he just watch her throw her life away? Why? Why do you think? Yin Tong smiled bitterly. She poured the red wine into her mouth and said faintly, Why do you like her? She is a fake. She is not a fake. Yanzei lowered his eyes and sighed. Miss is the granddaughter of the master. Impossible. Yin Tong's eyes widened fiercely. She lifted Yanzei's shirt collar with her right hand and said, Didn't you see the report paper? She is not Mr. L's granddaughter at all. She is just a fake. She is. Although Yanzei couldn't bear it, he still told Yin Tong the truth. There's a problem with the report itself. Before this, the master and miss had already done a test. Besides, Yanzei took out his mobile phone and played Luo Baiwan's words at school. Also, there was a photo of Luo Qingshun that was 90% similar to her. He didn't know how to persuade Yin Tong. He only knew that if he didn't tell her the truth, she might do something even more outrageous. Now, Luo Qingshun was protected by Lu Juefeng. If she had any strange thoughts, he was afraid. No. Yin Tong shook her head in disbelief and said, This can't be true. It must be fake Tong Tong. Yanzei saw that her emotions were almost out of control. He put his hands on her shoulders and said, Let go. You are torturing yourself. He really couldn't bear to see Yin Tong like this. That was the girl he liked for so many years. He only wanted her to be well. I won't. Yin Tong gritted her teeth and drank a bottle of red wine. I won't let go, not even if I die. I know you won't take me back. Yin Tong looked at Yanzei coldly and said, Since you don't intend to take me back, then you have no right to tell me what to do. With that, she put on her black coat and left the private room. Yanzei looked at her back and wanted to reach out to hold her, but he felt that he had lost all his strength at that moment. At this moment, his phone rang. Caller, Lu Juefeng, Luo Jia coffee shop. Yanzei dragged his tired body over step by step. He lowered his head and reeked of alcohol. You drank? Tan Xiao frowned and asked, Where's Yin Tong? I didn't find it. He replied indifferently, burying all his worries in the bottom of his heart. In the next second, Mo Ling walked in with a sunken gaze. Did you not find it? Or are you not willing to bring it back? Yanzei seemed to be unable to suppress the emotions in his heart. He laughed coldly and roared. You should all be emotionless monsters. Who did Yin Tong do so much for? Don't you know that bringing Yin Tong back is sending her to her death? Why are you so selfish? Chapter 27:17. Yanzei seemed to have lost his mind. He couldn't accept anyone criticizing Yin Tong, not to mention someone who had nothing to do with this matter. He roared and rushed towards Gu Hongfei. Luo Qingshun and Mo Ling were stunned. They quickly stood in front of Gu Hongfei. After all, she was the one who brought her here. She had to protect her. What do you want to do? Mo Ling's eyes were cold. Some people were too important in his life. He could leave her because of his identity or other reasons. However, he would never let anyone hurt her. Yanzei, Luo Qingshun narrowed her eyes and said, I advise you to think about what you are doing. If you don't want to stay in the Luo family, I can help you talk to grandfather. Compared to Mo Ling, Luo Qingshun was much calmer. What she wanted to say was clear. Some people were worth giving up everything, but some were not. If Yanzei stayed in the Luo family and continued to be one of the 4 young masters, his future would be bright. However, if he was willing to stay with Yin Tong, she didn't care. It would depend on Yanzei's choice. Gu Hongfei was stunned. She wasn't frightened by Yanzei, but by Mo Ling and Luo Qingshun's reactions. It was better to provide help in a time of need than to add flowers to a brocade. The more dangerous it was, the more one could see through people's hearts. Luo Qingshun was a friend worth making, and Mo Ling still cared about her. Gu Hongfei calmed down and laughed coldly. She looked at Yanzei, who was not far away, and said, I didn't expect that one of the rumored gentlemanly and elegant 4 great young masters would want to lay his hands on a girl. I didn't. Yanzei gradually calmed down and said softly, I don't care if you believe me or not. I don't hit women. His expression was unsightly, or to be more precise, he was embarrassed. At this moment, he felt that he had embarrassed the 4 young masters. That's enough. Lu Juefeng, who had been silent, said, Where is Yin Tong? I don't know. He lowered his head dejectedly. After chasing out of the bar, he didn't see Yin Tong at all. Yin Tong probably didn't want to see him either. You're lying, Gu Hongfei frowned. She did such a bad thing, and you're still protecting her. I'm not lying, Yinze said with a red face. Just like how I didn't want to hurt you. I don't believe you. Gu Hongfei's eyes. She wasn't the kind of person who would be aggressive. Even if the other party said no, she wanted to believe it. However, she really looked down on Yin Tong's actions. When she was with Mo Ling, she had seen Yin Tong a few times. His gaze was as cold as frost, and his temperament was arrogant, as if he could tolerate anyone. Now she naturally knew why Yin Tong hated Luo Qingchun so much. It was because she was jealous of her. She was jealous that she was the real princess, jealous that she could be protected by Lu Juefeng and even the four young masters. Chapter 27:18. Lu Juefeng glanced at Yin Zhe, then said softly, he really doesn't know where Yin Tong is. After all, he can't stop Yin Tong. The reason why he asked Yin Zhe to find her was that he probably guessed that Yin Tong would not come back obediently. If it was Tan Xiao or Mo Ling, it was very likely that they would fight. Yin Tong had been with her for so many years, and her skills were not bad. Mo Ling should have no problem. Even Tan Xiao might not be her opponent. At least if Yin Zhe went to find her, the two of them would not have a conflict. Young Master Feng, why don't you let Yin Tong go like this? Yin Zhe said carefully. No matter what, she didn't do anything outrageous. Then what do you think is outrageous? Luo Qingchun said calmly. Her eyes were indifferent, and her tone did not have any waves. Probably because Luo Qingchun and Gu Hongfei's identities were different, but when she questioned him, he was a little speechless. Many words were stuck in his throat, and he couldn't say a word. What she did is what she did. Although I am not a narrow-minded person, I am not a magnanimous person either. Luo Qingchun looked at him with half-squinted eyes. But I will not forgive her. But Master will not let her go. Yin Zhe's face was full of struggle. He understood the truth, but he couldn't really watch Yin Tong come back and be punished. She will not be much safer outside. Lu Juefeng took a sip of coffee and said with a faint expression, Uncle Nan has already ordered that whoever catches Yin Tong first will be heavily rewarded. Will they hurt Yin Tong? Hurt? Lu Juefeng sneered. Uncle Nan's order did not ask for her to be alive. What? Yin Zhe heard the words, and his face turned pale instantly. This was the second reason why he asked Yin Zhe to find Yin Tong. Mr. L would not let Yin Tong go, so coming back and being punished was definitely the best result. But since Yin Tong was unwilling, it had nothing to do with him. After all, they were familiar with each other, and she had done many things for him. If it weren't for the fact that she was dealing with the person he cared about the most, he might have helped her once. But now, it was even more impossible for him to forgive her. Even the dark side of his heart did not want her to come back alive. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed, but there was still no news of Yin Tong. As expected of Lu Juefeng's men, they were especially good at reconnaissance and anti-reconnaissance. Luo Qingchun would often call Gu Hongfei to invite her over to her house. Now that she and Mo Ling had met more often, the two of them didn't seem to be as awkward as before. During this period of time, Luo Qingchun had managed to get a rough idea about the relationship between Mo Ling and Gu Hongfei. They used to be a couple, but they broke up later. The four young masters of the Luo clan were not as omnipotent as they seemed on the surface. They also had enemies. Mo Ling's skills were the best, and she had done the most things for Mr. L, so she naturally had the most enemies. At that time, Gu Hongfei was still his girlfriend. He didn't expect that his enemies couldn't do anything to him and directly went to wait for Gu Hongfei. Although they didn't kidnap Gu Hongfei, they kidnapped her younger brother. In the end, even though Mo Ling rescued her younger brother still had one of his legs broken and had to lie in bed for 2 months. Mo Ling blamed himself. Even though he had compensated the Gu clan with a lot of money, he still blamed himself. Chapter 27:19. My little brother loves to play basketball, and there are many trophies at home from the basketball competitions he participated in at school. On a lazy afternoon, Luo Qingchun and Gu Hongfei sat in the luxurious coffee shop of the Luo family, drinking milk tea. This was almost the end of the story. Your little brother must really like you. That's why he can't bear to blame you, or Mo Ling. Luo Qingshan pursed her lips, a faint smile appearing at the corner of her mouth. That's right. Gu Hongfei nodded. My little brother and I both thought that Mo Ling would treat me better. Never did we expect that he would actually break up with me. He did it to protect you. This was the first time Luo Qingshan spoke of the so-called protection as an outsider. She couldn't help but recall everything that had happened in the special plane. It seemed that the so-called protection was something that girls understood in their hearts. However, they couldn't accept it. I know. Gu Hongfei nodded. But knowing doesn't mean that I have to leave. I don't want to leave him. You two won't leave each other, Luo Qingshan said with a chuckle. Mo Ling can't bear to leave. He's just torturing himself. Really? Luo Qingshan narrowed her eyes, her gaze seeming to gradually lengthen as she looked at a place not far away. There was once a person who liked to exchange his life for another person's. However, he returned with another identity. Gu Hongfei frowned slightly, seemingly unable to understand what Luo Qingshan meant. Luo Qingshan shook her head. Nothing. What are you two beauties talking about? A voice brimming with vitality rang out. Luo Qingshan turned around and saw Tan Xiao walking towards them with a stack of greeting cards in her hands. A girl's secret. Luo Qingshan pursed her lips. I'm not telling you. Tisk. Tan Xiao rolled her eyes with feigned disdain. You're about to get married, and you're still talking about girls. Luo Qingshan gawked for a moment. Taking a look at the greeting cards, she pursed her lips and smiled. You told Grandpa? Yes. Tan Xiao nodded and said, I don't know what they were talking about. Anyway, they talked in a room for 5 or 6 hours. When he came out, he let out a long sigh of relief, as if a burden had been lifted from his shoulders. Ha! Luo Qingshan laughed and said, I really want to see his relieved expression. TSK, TSK. Mrs. So mean. Tan Xiao placed the card on the table and said, Master dotes on you so much. Young Master Feng must have put in a lot of effort to get past him. Choose your wedding card carefully. It's Christmas in 2 months. It's a good day, I like it. Luo Qingshan picked up the greeting cards and flipped through them. Finally, she chose a greeting card that matched Christmas. Have you made your decision? Okay. Luo Qingshan nodded and said, You guys talk, I'll go find Lu Jiu effing. Io. Tan Xiao couldn't help but tease her. You're so eager to meet your future husband. What does it have to do with you? Luo Qingshan shrugged and instantly retorted. Single people don't have the right to talk. They can only hide in a corner and envy. You. Tan Xiao seemed to be angered by Luo Qingshan, and her face instantly turned red. She put her hands on her hips for a long time before she choked out a sentence. I'm single because I've never been touched by a single flower, okay? You don't know how many people want to be my girlfriend, but I... Chapter 2720. Where are you going this time? Tan Xiao turned around and looked at Gu Hongfei, exasperated. Isn't it good to stay here and drink some coffee? Gu Hongfei gawked slightly, as she never expected Tan Xiao to rebuke her. However, in the next second, she regained her composure and mimicked Luo Qingshan's tone. What does that have to do with you? Single people don't have the qualifications to speak. They can only hide in a corner and be jealous. Hey, the young miss is getting married. You can use this to rebuke me. Tan Xiao's face turned red as she looked at Luo Qingshan. You're also single. Why do you have to use this to rebuke me? Who told you that she's single? In the next second, a cold voice rang out as a figure appeared behind Tan Xiao. Mo Ling had an indifferent expression on his face. Other than his gaze becoming more focused, there was nothing different about him. He walked past Tan Xiao and decisively held Gu Hongfei's hand before turning around and walking towards the door. Do you know what you're doing? Tan Xiao's eyes widened as she stood there in shock. Has this person gone mad? After using so much energy to escape, is he planning to send himself to death? Little did she know that Mo Ling had a faint smile on his face as he replied, What does that have to do with you? Single people don't have the qualifications to speak. They can only hide in a corner and be jealous. As his voice rang out, he held onto the completely stunned Gu Hongfei's hand and left Tan Zhao's line of sight. Tan Zhao fell to the ground with a face full of anger, appearing as though she had lost all of her strength. Luo Qingchen walked through the hallway to Lu Jufeng's room. Although they lived in the same villa, the Luo family's villa was truly huge. Just walking from her room to Lu Juefeng's room would take close to 10 minutes. Due to the European-style architecture, it was easy to get lost if one didn't know the route. Lu Juefeng. Luo Qingchen gently knocked on the door and called out twice. The soundproofing effect of the door was extremely good, and she was practically unable to hear anything from within. She had already knocked very loudly, and she didn't know if anyone inside could hear her. Seeing that there was no response, Luo Qingchen knocked on the door twice more. Still, there was no response. The room was opened with a fingerprint or password. Luo Qingchen recalled the password of Lu Juefeng's room when they were in the hotel for the first time, 1111. She directly entered the 4 words, but the result was a series of dang, dang, dang sounds. Password error. Could it be that this person did not like to use 1111 and instead preferred to use 2222? Luo Qingchen tried 2222 again, but the result was still wrong. Just as she was feeling frustrated, her phone rang. It was a message from Lu Juefeng. The password is 7520. Lu Juefeng. What the hell was 7520? Also, why didn't he open the door for her when he knew she was outside? Luo Qingchen angrily keyed in 7520. After opening the door, she shouted, "Why didn't you open the door for me?" There was no one in the living room, and the sound of water splashing came from the bathroom. Luo Qingchen's eyes trembled slightly as Lu Juefeng walked out of the bathroom wrapped in a bath towel. The air was filled with the faint fragrance of cherry blossoms. This scene seemed somewhat familiar. He knocked on the door so loudly that I could hear it from the bathroom. Chapter 27-21. Yua. He gently raised his hand and touched her head. "Are you happy to be mischievous?" Luo Qingchen nodded very seriously and said, "I'm happy. I'm very happy." "Have you chosen a card?" Lu Juefeng's eyes were faint, and there was a faint glimmer in his eyes. Luo Qingchen shook the card in her hand and said, "I've chosen it. Does Mr. Lu have any other orders?" It was probably because she called him Mr. Lu that he couldn't help but smile and respond, "Miss, I have other orders. TSK, TSK, tisk." Luo Qingchen pretended to look disgusted and shook her head. "You have a lot of things to do." She didn't know that in the next second, he quickly walked to her side and hugged her. "Qingchen, what did you just say?" "I didn't hear it clearly." She froze for a moment, probably not expecting Lu Juefeng to suddenly do this. It was only a few centimeters away, but she couldn't help but blush. I said. Luo Qingchen had a flash of inspiration and said with a faint smile, "Young Master Feng is the most handsome in the world, and young Master Feng is the most handsome in the world." Oh! In the next second, he kissed her lips without hesitation. Although it wasn't a lingering kiss, it was hard and deep. "Hey!" After he gently let go of her, she couldn't help but complain, "Didn't I already praise you?" I've never seen such a hypocritical praise. He hooked his lips and said with a smile, "Let's go. Let's go pick out the wedding dress." Wow. Stealing a kiss and changing the topic. Can't we do it openly? It's clearly stealing a kiss. He saw her pursing her lips and gently took her hand and lightly said, "It's really good." I said it's really good to have you by my side. After going around in circles for thousands of years, sometimes it was just a moment of beauty, but she felt that it was especially worth it. Time passed very quickly. 2 months later, their wedding day arrived as scheduled. Pure white wedding dress, bright diamond ring, full of guests, and sincere vows. An hour before the wedding, Gu Hongfei accompanied her in the dressing room to make the final preparations. "You are the most beautiful bride I have ever seen." Gu Hongfei looked at Luo Qingchen in the mirror and said, "The relationship between you and young Master Feng is really like a fairy tale. That's because you only saw the end of the story and not the beginning." Luo Qingchen shrugged and chuckled. "If you knew, you wouldn't think it was a fairy tale. An assassination attempt before they had even met, and the first time they had met, they had drawn their guns. This shouldn't be called a fairy tale. It should be called a love-hate relationship. Ah. Gu Hongfei blinked and said, "Is your first encounter very special?" Luo Qingshun thought for a while and said, "It's quite special. However, I'm not as good as you and Mo Ling." Upon hearing the words Mo Ling, Gu Hongfei lowered her head in embarrassment. "What I have with him is called an ill-fated relationship. How can it be considered special?" Gu Hongfei pursed her lips and said, "But it's all thanks to you. At least he's not hiding from me anymore. Actually, he has put in a lot of effort." Luo Qingshun blinked and said, "He's also worried that he can't protect you, and you can't protect yourself." But Gu Hongfei frowned and looked at her. "But young Master Feng isn't worried about not being able to protect you. You can't protect yourself either." Hearing that, Luo Qingshun shook her head lightly and said, "We are different." Although she didn't think that if she didn't have any skills, Lu Juefeng would make the same decision as Mo Ling. Chapter 27-22. Gu Hongfei seemed to want to say something, but someone just came in from outside the door. It was her makeup artist. "Miss Luo, let's rehearse in half an hour." "Well, okay." She picked up the small crown on the table and put it on. She looked at Gu Hongfei, who wanted to say something, and said, "I have someone to protect me. I usually have an entourage when I go out, but you're different." Luo Qingshun felt that Gu Hongfei should be able to understand if she explained it like this. She couldn't say anything about their love. She had done everything she could and should have done. Although Gu Hongfei was still a little depressed, she had already understood Luo Qingshun's words. If she was afraid of danger, she should leave. If she still wanted to be with him, she should try her best to stay with him regardless of everything. "But when I look at you like this, I suddenly feel that I am very lucky." Luo Qingshun narrowed her eyes with an unconcealable smile on the corner of her mouth. When all the dust settled, when happiness arrived, when everyone was defenseless, danger would always unconsciously approach. Yin Tong, the dangerous time bomb, finally couldn't bear it. Although in the past 2 months, both the underworld and the legal world were trying their best to find Yin Tong's whereabouts. But she seemed to have disappeared from the world. They couldn't find her. Everyone felt very strange, except for Lu Juefeng. For this disciple, he did teach a lot of things. Her detection and anti-detection abilities had reached the point of perfection. It was not easy to catch her. December 24th, Christmas, heavy snow. In order to blend into the wedding scene, Yin Tong changed her usual style and wore a pink sweater and a black short skirt. She put on light makeup and a wig. Black sunglasses covered more than half of her face. No one could recognize her at all. She held the invitation in her hand tightly, and the eyes under the sunglasses were full of murderous intent. Her current identity was the daughter of the real estate developer, Director Chun. Because Director Chun drank too much and fell down yesterday, he was now lying in the hospital. He could only let his daughter attend the wedding on his behalf. Not many people knew this daughter at the wedding banquet, so Yin Tong knocked her out midway and took away her invitation. The clothes, sunglasses, bags, and shoes all belonged to the daughter of the Chun family. In the past 2 months on the run, she thought a lot. That man was so outstanding. It was because of what he taught her that she was able to avoid the eyes and ears of so many killers. The scene of him teaching her was still vivid in her mind. Although he never smiled and was very strict, he taught her with his heart. No one had ever cared about her so much. Even when she was in the hospital, he would come to her. But all this had changed. Why? Why the ending between him and her? It was all because of Luo Qingshun. If there was no Luo Qingshun, she would still be the only person who could stand to be by his side. No one could replace her position. If she couldn't get those things to her, then she'd destroy them all to herself. Yin Tong narrowed her eyes. She touched the bombs around her waist with her right hand and smiled coldly. Since no one could let her go, she wouldn't let anyone go either. Although she didn't want Lu Jufeng to be hurt, she wanted Luo Qingshun to die. Chapter 27-23. The melodious wedding march sounded. She was in a snow-white wedding dress, holding Luo Baiwan's hand, and slowly walked into the dreamy auditorium full of flowers. Lu Juefeng was in a suit, and the faint light shone on his handsome face. He was so good-looking and so imposing. At first glance, his deep eyes seemed very calm, but only he knew the excitement and joy in them. On this snowy day, a couple is about to become the closest and most important people in each other's lives. Accompanied by melodious music, the MC passionately read the same words. But in such a solemn scene, Luo Qingshun could only feel her eyes turning red, and she didn't feel that such words were funny at all. The flower girl walking in front of her sprinkled the pink cherry blossom petals one by one. Sandwiched between the pure white snow, it looked so beautiful. They looked at each other and smiled at each other. The road didn't seem to be long, but for them, they all hoped to arrive quickly. But it's so beautiful that I can't bear to destroy it. A low and cold voice sounded, which made everyone present stunned. Luo Qingshun frowned slightly, turned around, and looked at Yin Tong in front of her with half-squinted eyes. Because the guests were next to them, there was no one else in the middle of the big red carpet except her, Luo Baiwan, and the two flower girls. And Yin Tong's position was just right, less than 3 meters in front of her. It seemed that Lu Juefeng had taught her very well, and her skills were really good. Lu Juefeng, who was standing in front, frowned and was about to run in the direction of Luo Qingshun. The bodyguards in the east, west, north, and south immediately rushed to the middle, each with a gun in their hands. "Don't move." Yin Tong lifted her sweater in an instant, biting her lips and saying, "One more step, and I'll let everyone here die with me." The bodyguards didn't seem to see the explosives on Yin Tong's body, and 2 or 3 of them were moving forward. Luo Qingshun and Lu Juefeng said at the same time, "Don't move." In such a critical situation, Luo Qingshun couldn't help but smile. Not far behind her, Lu Juefeng frowned. At this moment, she was so radiant that it was as if everything around her had lost its color. He only had eyes for her, only her, only her. Young Master Feng. Under such a situation, the bodyguard broke out in cold sweat. If Luo Baiwan was injured, no one would be able to bear the consequences. TATP. He frowned, a cold light flashing in his eyes. The bodyguard didn't seem to understand. His voice trembled as he asked, "What? The type of explosives?" Luo Qingshun shielded Luo Baiwan behind her and said, "Of course, that's the abbreviation. It's commonly known as triacetone triperoxide." Yin Tong was stunned for a moment. When Luo Qingshun said the name of the explosives so easily, she felt inexplicably nervous. She came with the determination to die together with Luo Qingshun. Why did she feel flustered? It was like Luo Qingshun's aura had completely suppressed her, making it hard for her to breathe. Qing! Luo Baiwan wanted to stand in front of her to protect his granddaughter, but he was stopped by Luo Qingshun. Chapter 27-24. Ha! Yin Tong laughed coldly and said in a strange tone, "Do you really think that your mediocre skills can deal with a bomb?" It was not that she was looking down on Luo Qingshun, but who in this world could compete with a bomb with their body? Yin Tong had come here to die together with her, so she had no way out. On the road to the underworld, she would bring Luo Qingshun, the person she hated the most, and so many people to die with her. It was worth it. Luo Qingshun snorted and said, "Then you should light it." Hiss! The surrounding guests all sucked in a breath of cold air, but they could not shout out. The bird that sticks out gets shot, and no one wanted to be the bird that sticks out. "I'll fulfill your wish." She slowly raised the lighter that had already been lit, and her gaze fell deeply on Lu Juefeng's body. But his gaze did not even look at her. From beginning to end, it only fell on Luo Qingshun, who was wearing a white wedding dress. Hatred, endless hatred. She hated the unfairness of this world, hated that she could not love. Go to hell, space-time freeze. Everything around her was frozen at this moment. She narrowed her eyes and removed Yin Tong's mind control, but her actions were still restricted. "You?" Yin Tong's face turned pale in an instant, and her eyes were about to pop out. She could not move, No matter how much she wanted to use the lighter to ignite the bomb, she could not move. Luo Qingchen was too lazy to pay attention to her, and her gaze fell on Tan Xiao, who was not far away. She narrowed her eyes and removed all of Tan Xiao's mind control, including his thoughts, including his actions. Now that she had the 5th level of space-time freeze, she had removed many restrictions that she could not do before. She did not use her ability, not because it was weak, but because she disdained to use her ability to deal with some people. But now, Yin Tong's actions could easily cause a large number of casualties, so she had no other choice. What's going on? Joker looked at his surroundings in panic, his eyes nearly rolling back into his head and fainting. But fortunately, he had experienced the incident of Luo Qingchen going from the villa to the hospital in 53 seconds, so he could accept it in a short time. I thought you were already used to it. Luo Qingchen chuckled and said, "How about it? Do you especially admire your young miss?" Damn, 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 damn. This is too exciting. Joking Talker was extremely excited when he regained his senses. He suddenly looked up at Luo Qingchen and asked, "Miss, what you did last time was called instant transmission. Is this called space freeze?" About that, Luo Qingchen shrugged and smiled. Although it's not the name, the meaning is similar. So, you agreed that I can move freely in your space? Of course. Why me? Because you already suspected me. Then you might as well be more suspicious. Luo Qingchen narrowed her eyes and said, "Take the one on her and extinguish it." All right. The next second, Tan Xiao immediately walked to Yin Tong's side, took the lighter from her hand, blew it out, and closed the lid, saying, "Yin Tong, you were really wrong this time." After knowing each other for so many years, he still felt that it was a pity. "Let go of me. Who are you?" Yin Tong's face was full of panic, and even though her voice was trembling, she still shouted like crazy. "You monster, let go of me." Chapter 27-25. The flying snow froze in the air, and Yin Tong almost went crazy. She couldn't believe what was happening in front of her. Luo Qingchen, on the other hand, looked indifferent with a faint smile on her lips. She looked at Yin Tong very quietly. Yin Tong's eyebrows changed from anger to panic, from panic to confusion, and from confusion to madness. "Ha ha ha!" Yin Tong laughed and said, "Special ability, it's really fun. I should know. Ha ha ha. When I first saw you, you used a special ability, right? Teleportation. Ha ha. Miss, what should we do?" Tan Xiao looked at Yin Tong and felt very creeped out. He swallowed his saliva and walked to Luo Qingchen's side. "What are you doing here?" Luo Qingchen smiled helplessly and said, "Hug her. I'm going to undo the space-time freeze." I. Tan Xiao looked at Luo Qingchen with some fear and said, "Her crazy appearance makes me a little scared. She can't move, but she can move if you remove the space restriction." PFFF. Luo Qingchen couldn't help but chuckle and said, "You took the lighter. What are you afraid of?" "All right." Tan Xiao suddenly stepped forward and said, "Miss, you have to protect me. It depends on my mood." The next second, she snapped her right hand gently, and everything around them returned to normal. Tan Xiao hugged Yin Tong tightly. After rolling his eyes, he did not forget to act and shouted, "Don't struggle anymore. Let's stop." "Ha ha 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 ha. Stop. I'm finally back. So scary. It was really scary just now." Yin Tong still said these words to herself, and she seemed to have entered a state of madness. Lu Juefeng frowned slightly and almost rushed to Luo Qingchen's side at the fastest speed, protecting her and Luo Baiwan behind him. "How is it, young Master Feng? This time it's my merit." Tan Xiao handed over the crazy Yin Tong to the bodyguard and said, "Shouldn't you praise me? It's a great merit." A hint of doubt flashed across Lu Juefeng's eyes as he said, "But you didn't seem to be that close just now." In just a second, Tan Xiao suddenly hugged Yin Tong and snatched the lighter from her hand. Did he hide his original strength, or did something happen in that 1 second that he didn't know about? Yes. Tan Xiao desperately blinked at Luo Qingchen and said, "I'm just hiding in the dark." Yes. Luo Qingchen's lips twitched into a smile. I just saw it. He hid quite well. That's right. I had a premonition that there would be danger. I might have the ability to foresee the future in my bones. Joking Talker probably still hadn't recovered from the frozen space-time scene. He probably thought that he was in a fantasy world in a book. Cuckoo. Luo Qingchen cleared her throat and used her eyes to say too much, too much. Anyway, thank you. Lu Juefeng's voice was very sincere. He had always looked high and mighty, and almost never thanked people sincerely. But Yin Tong's action just now made him feel powerless for the first time. He couldn't stand in front of her to protect her. He never wanted to experience that feeling of powerlessness again. Fortunately, there was Tan Xiao. Fortunately, he protected her. Luo Qingchen could feel Lu Jufeng tightly holding her right hand, using that much strength. Chapter 27-26. The wedding was delayed for 2 hours and went on as usual. Although Yin Tong's appearance gave everyone a shock, fortunately, it was a daunting experience without any danger. They made vows and exchanged rings. He kissed the back of her hand and told her that he would protect her for the rest of his life and never let her get hurt. The bouquet in his hand fell and landed on Gu Hongfei. She was stunned. Luo Qingchen pursed her lips and smiled, a faint light in her eyes. Wasn't happiness the happiest thing if everyone had it? After the wedding, the group laughed and played the whole night in the bridal room. Everyone was there, except for Yin Zhe. In the police station, Yin Tong was locked in the innermost detention center. Probably because she kept resisting when she was locked up, there were many injuries all over her body. Yin Zhe used his connections and sat across from Yin Tong. Her hands were handcuffed, and there was a faint trace of blood on her wrists. Tong Tong, are you okay? Yin Zhe wanted to grab her hand, but he trembled and didn't hold it in the end. Yin Tong didn't like other people touching her, and he never dared to overstep his boundaries. But the next second, Yin Tong took the initiative to hold his hand and murmured with a smile, "Xiao, xiao, xiao. Time and space freeze." Ha ha ha, that's amazing. I'm so envious. Why do others have it, but I don't? Tong Tong, what are you talking about? Yin Zhe was completely stunned and looked at Yin Tong in disbelief. She is crazy? Who are you? Why are you here? Are you here to teach me teleportation? Yin Tong's eyes were shining. I want to learn too. I'll be your disciple. Okay? You can teach me. Tong Tong. I'm Yin Zhe. Who is Yin Zhe? She suddenly hid in the corner in horror and hugged herself. Don't come over. I don't have any abilities. Don't hit me. I beg you. Yin Zhe's fingertips suddenly trembled. He wanted to say something, but it was like a fishbone stuck in his throat, and he couldn't say a word. He could only step forward and stand in front of Yin Tong and carefully touch her head. The night passed just like that. The story that followed. After Luo Qingchen and Lu Juefeng got married, they lived a life of eating, drinking, and playing. Lu Juefeng began to gradually take over Luo Baiwan's career. Luo Qingchen stayed at home to play games, watch TV series, and play matchmaker. Also, stay away from the chatter and laughter of your fanboys. Because Tan Xiao came to find her almost 24 hours a day, as long as he was free, Lu Juefeng found him more and more unpleasant to the eye. He always had the urge to beat him up. However, in such a world, it was sometimes not a bad thing for someone to know one's secret. For example, when she was alone with Tan Xiao in the study, she would directly use her mind to pick up a book. Of course, Chatter and Joker would always scream, which would often attract the bodyguards to knock on the door. As for Yin Zhe and Yin Tong, since Yin Tong didn't hurt anyone at her wedding, she wasn't sentenced to death. In addition to the mental problems, he was only sentenced to 3 years. Yin Zhe left the Luo family and was no longer one of the 4 young masters. He rented a room that was closest to the prison where Yin Tong was being held. He wanted to wait for her. At least that silly Yin Tong could finally hold her hand. Luo Family Villa. Luo Qingchen stood at the door of the bedroom of the new room. She entered 7,523 times, but the result was wrong. The next second, the text message rang again. The password is 1314. Lu Juefeng. Luo Qingchen stood at the door and quickly replied, Why do you change the password all the time? Do you have a secret? Luo Qin Shun. Beep beep. Yes. Lu Ju effing, what secret? Luo Qin Shun. Chapter 27:27. I have only walked through mountains and rivers, and the past has been wasted for years and a half. Only when I met you did I feel that it was not in vain. Lu Ju effing. Luo Qin Shun. These 3 words in my dictionary probably meant target character. Because there were a lot of people called these 3 words in recent years, I didn't think it sounded good at first. Later, I felt that it was the best 3 words in the world. In fact, 90% of these people didn't have this name, but in order to change from a commoner to a princess, they had to use this name to enter the Luo family. Of course, they were all fake. Some did it for money, some for fame and fortune, and some to kill people. These people's fates were different, but they couldn't escape from the Luo family. So over the years, I was numb to this kind of thing. The new target character didn't come to the door by herself, but was discovered through unknown channels. This kind of person was the most terrifying. Therefore, my first reaction was to avoid future troubles. Mr. L's health was not good, especially his heart. He had 2 operations in the early years and couldn't stand the torment. He was my benefactor, and his life was the most important to me. This kind of person who gave me hope, but maybe disappointed, it was better not to appear. The task I gave Yin Tong was not to kill her, but to let her retreat like other people before. Unless she didn't change her nature, I would let Yin Tong kill her. But I didn't expect that an ordinary high school student would make Yin Tong fail and get injured. Although she was not quite outstanding in the ranks of agents, it was definitely more than enough to deal with an ordinary person. After going to the hospital, I handed Yin Tong over to Yin Zhe and returned to the hotel alone, intending to think about this matter at length. I didn't expect that I would meet her again so soon. I didn't know how she got into my room. I didn't even know how she opened the bedroom door. I only knew that at the moment of the fight, the fire burning in my heart made people so excited. It was as if I had finally met my match, as if I had finally found the meaning of life. She would never know how much my heart throbbed when she held a pistol to my head and spoke to me in a relaxed tone. At that time, I didn't know that she was Luo Qin. Perhaps this feeling could not be considered as love at first sight, but that throbbing feeling lingered in the depths of her heart and did not dissipate for a long time. When they met again, she had already become the real young lady of the Luo family through Uncle Nan. I knew that the moment she stepped into the Luo clan, none of the 4 young masters would be able to touch her. Of course, I had long since given up on this idea. During this period of time, I did my best to suppress my emotions. In fact, I wanted to see him tell Mr. L that I sent someone to assassinate her, so that maybe the throbbing in his heart wouldn't be so deep. But she didn't say anything. Instead, she looked at me with an indifferent gaze. Her gaze seemed to burn me, and I couldn't help but want to look at her. It was a struggle between rationality and sensibility, and those who had never experienced it would never understand it. The first time she felt as though she could no longer endure the torment in her heart was when she had grabbed Mo Ling's hand. His heart thumped as it sped up. The entire world dimmed and lost its light. Then, there was a long period of mental restriction. There seemed to be no sound in the surroundings, and it was dark and gloomy. It was very uncomfortable. It turned out that this was the feeling of caring for someone. It was truly an unbearable feeling.